The ocean is far more alive and mysterious than the calm picture we usually imagine. Waves rolling gently across the surface, sunlight glittering on the water, and fish drifting slowly beneath the blue. But the real wonders of our planet's seas aren't just in the shallows we can see, they also plunge far below and vanish into the dark. Deep down, strange shapes glow with alien light, giant squids open eyes the size of dinner plates, and colossal shadows move where no sunlight ever reaches. So before we begin, share in the comments where you're joining from and what time it is for you right now. Then get ready, because we're about to dive into an ocean that just might change the way you see it forever. The story of life on Earth begins in the oceans, a vast and dynamic chemical soup that covered the nascent planet billions of years ago. To understand the rise of complex predators, it is essential to first grasp the conditions of these primordial waters, their composition, and the very first, simplest forms of life that called them home. This period stretches back to approximately 4.5 billion years ago, when Earth first formed, and extends through the Hadean and Archean eons, long before anything resembling a complex predator existed. Immediately after its formation, Earth was a molten planet. As it cooled, heavier elements sank to the core, and lighter ones rose to the surface, forming the crust. Volcanic activity was intense, releasing vast amounts of gases, including water vapor, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and sulfur compounds, from the planet's interior. This process, known as outgassing, was critical for forming Earth's early atmosphere and ultimately its oceans. As the Earth continued to cool, this abundant water vapor condensed, falling as torrential rains that lasted for millions of years. This continuous precipitation gradually filled the low-lying basins and depressions on the planet's surface, forming the first oceans. This likely happened by around 4 billion years ago, potentially even earlier. The composition of these early oceans was significantly different from today's. While they were primarily water, they were also rich in dissolved minerals and chemical compounds, leached from volcanic rocks and delivered by comets and asteroids. Unlike modern oceans, which are salty due to sodium chloride, the early oceans might have had a different chemical makeup. They were likely rich in elements like iron, potassium, and calcium, and their acidity was probably higher due to the massive amounts of dissolved carbon dioxide from the early atmosphere. Oxygen, which is crucial for complex life today, was virtually absent in the early atmosphere and oceans. These were anoxic, oxygen-free environments. The absence of free oxygen meant that the early oceans were fundamentally different biochemically. Chemical reactions occurred in ways that are uncommon today. For instance, dissolved iron was abundant, giving the oceans a greenish or brownish hue, very different from the blue of today's oxygen-rich waters. As photosynthesis eventually emerged, this dissolved iron would react with the newly produced oxygen, precipitating out to form vast deposits of banded iron formations, geological evidence that records the gradual oxygenation of the oceans over billions of years. The origin of life itself, known as abiogenesis, is deeply tied to these early ocean conditions. Scientists theorize that life may have begun in several possible settings within these primordial waters. One prominent hypothesis suggests that hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor provided the necessary chemical energy in stable conditions. These deep-sea vents release superheated, mineral-rich fluids from Earth's interior, creating unique chemical gradients that could have catalyzed the formation of complex organic molecules from simpler inorganic compounds. These molecules, such as amino acids and nucleotides, are the building blocks of proteins and DNA. Another hypothesis points to shallow tidal pools or ponds on the surface, where cycles of wetting and drying could have concentrated organic molecules and promoted their polymerization. Regardless of the exact location, the early oceans were the cradle of life. The very first life forms were incredibly simple, prokaryotes. These single-celled organisms, similar to bacteria and archaea, lacked a nucleus or other complex internal structures. For billions of years, these microbial life forms were the sole inhabitants of Earth's oceans. They thrived in the anoxic conditions, deriving energy from chemical reactions, chemosynthesis, or from sunlight through early forms of photosynthesis. The most significant evolutionary step among these early life forms was the emergence of cyanobacteria, sometimes called blue-green algae, around 2.7 to 2.5 billion years ago. Cyanobacteria were revolutionary because they developed oxygenic photosynthesis. Unlike earlier forms of photosynthesis that did not produce oxygen, cyanobacteria used sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to produce energy, releasing free oxygen as a waste product. This process, occurring over vast stretches of geological time, gradually began to transform the composition of both the oceans and the atmosphere. The oxygen initially reacted with dissolved iron in the oceans, leading to the deposition of the banded iron formations. Once the iron sinks were filled, free oxygen began to accumulate in the atmosphere. This event, known as the Great Oxidation Event, beginning around 2.4 billion years ago, was a turning point for Earth and life. The rising levels of oxygen were initially toxic to many anaerobic life forms that had evolved in its absence. This period might have seen a mass extinction of early life, but it also paved the way for the evolution of new, oxygen-dependent metabolic pathways, which are far more efficient at generating energy. This increased energy efficiency was crucial for the later development of more complex life. For billions of years, from the Archean through much of the Proterozoic eon, the oceans remained dominated by single-celled prokaryotes. Then, around 2 billion to 1.5 billion years ago, a new form of life emerged, eukaryotes. These single-celled organisms were larger and more complex than prokaryotes, possessing a nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. This increased complexity was another critical step towards multicellularity and the eventual evolution of larger, more specialized organisms. By the late Proterozoic, around 600 million years ago, as oxygen levels continued to rise and environmental conditions stabilized, the stage was set for the next great leap in life's history, the emergence of multicellular organisms. The Ediacaran biota, soft-bodied multicellular forms, represent some of the earliest complex life, existing in the oceans before the Cambrian explosion. These early oceans, shaped by intense geological activity and gradually transformed by microbial life, were the crucible in which all subsequent life, including the most fearsome predators, would eventually evolve. Their anoxic depths and chemically rich waters provided the perfect conditions for life's fragile beginnings, long before the first complex creatures swam or hunted. The Cambrian period, spanning from approximately 541 million to 485 million years ago, represents one of the most astonishing chapters in the history of life on Earth. This era is famously known for the Cambrian explosion, a relatively short period of geological time, perhaps 20 million to 25 million years, during which most major animal phyla, including the ancestors of all modern animal groups, appeared in the fossil record. Before the Cambrian, life consisted primarily of simple, soft-bodied organisms, mostly microbes in the enigmatic Ediacaran biota. The Cambrian witnessed a dramatic diversification of complex multicellular animals, and crucially, it marked the first widespread appearance of complex predators in the oceans. The sudden emergence of so many diverse animal forms with hard parts, skeletons, shells, and armour, is a defining feature of the Cambrian explosion. Prior to this, soft-bodied creatures left poor fossil records. The development of hard parts not only provided structural support, but also offered protection against a newly evolving threat: predation. The Cambrian oceans quickly became a dynamic arena where evolutionary arms races played out, driving rapid diversification. Organisms began to evolve new ways to hunt, and in response, their prey developed new defensive strategies, such as burrowing, developing armour, or evolving spines. This intense interplay between predator and prey fueled the rapid evolution of anatomical complexity and ecological roles. Among the earliest and most dominant complex predators of the Cambrian seas were specialized arthropods and other groups. These were not the largest predators that would ever exist, but they were certainly the most sophisticated for their time, possessing advanced sensory organs and effective methods of capturing prey. One of the most iconic and thoroughly studied Cambrian predators is Anomalocaris, meaning anomalous shrimp. Anomalocaris was indeed a highly unusual creature, initially misidentified from fragmented fossils as parts of different animals. Its true nature as a large, active predator was only revealed with more complete specimens found in the Burgess Shale in British Columbia, Canada, a site famous for its exceptional preservation of soft-bodied Cambrian life. Anomalocaris was at the apex of the Cambrian food web, filling a niche similar to that of modern-day sharks or large marine mammals. Other significant Cambrian predators included various types of early arthropods, many of which were related to trilobites but possessed more predatory features. Some early jawless fish also made an appearance, though they were not yet the dominant predators. Early nematodes and priapulid worms were also likely predatory or scavenging, using simple mouthparts to consume smaller organisms. The development of various types of eyes was a critical adaptation for these predators. Compound eyes, similar to those of insects, allowed for effective detection of movement and the spatial relationships of prey. This advanced vision provided a significant advantage in hunting. The Cambrian oceans were teeming with smaller, less mobile prey. Trilobites, a diverse group of armoured arthropods, were abundant. They likely formed a significant part of the diet for larger predators. Other common prey included various types of worms, early mollusks, and other emerging arthropods that lacked the formidable defences of the later forms. The presence of burrowing animals also suggests a response to predation, as hiding in sediment became a viable escape strategy. The shift towards complex predation during the Cambrian had far-reaching consequences for the evolution of life. It led to an increase in biodiversity as new forms and defensive strategies emerged. It also drove the development of more sophisticated nervous systems and sensory organs, as both predators and prey needed to become more efficient at detecting and responding to each other. The very structure of marine ecosystems became more complex, with distinct food chains and more specialized ecological niches. While the Cambrian explosion saw the appearance of most animal phyla, not all of them were immediately successful or dominant. Many early forms were experimental, some thriving for a time before declining or going extinct. The intense pressure of predation meant that only the most adaptable and well-defended species survived and continued to evolve. This period laid the groundwork for all future complex animal life on Earth, establishing fundamental body plans and ecological interactions that persist to this day. The rapid pace of evolution during this time set the stage for the subsequent eons, where the oceans would continue to be a theatre for ever larger and more specialised predators, building on the foundation laid during the Cambrian. The emergence of specialised hunters like Anomalocaris fundamentally changed the dynamics of life, transforming a world of simple grazers into a vibrant, competitive, and increasingly dangerous marine environment. Among the myriad of fascinating creatures that emerged during the Cambrian explosion, Anomalocaris stands out as the undisputed apex predator of its time, approximately 520 million years ago. Its name, meaning anomalous shrimp, reflects the initial confusion surrounding its fossil remains, which were first misidentified as separate parts of different animals before complete specimens revealed its true, extraordinary form. These crucial discoveries, particularly from the Burgess Shale in British Columbia, Canada, provided the clearest picture of this remarkable hunter. Anomalocaris was a formidable animal, reaching lengths of up to 1 metre, making it gigantic compared to most other Cambrian life forms, which were typically only a few centimetres long. This sheer size alone would have made it a dominant force in its ecosystem. Its body plan was unlike anything alive today, a testament to the experimental nature of early animal evolution. The most striking features of Anomalocaris were its unique head appendages. 2 large, segmented, grasping claws extended from the front of its head. These appendages were armed with rows of sharp, blade-like spines, perfectly designed for seizing and manipulating prey. Scientists believe Anomalocaris would have used these powerful claws to snatch trilobites and other arthropods from the seafloor or from the water column. The sharp spines would have helped to secure slippery prey, preventing escape. The flexibility of these appendages suggests they could articulate to bring food towards the mouth. Behind these grasping appendages was a distinctive circular mouth part. This mouth was located on the underside of its head and was composed of hardened, plate-like structures arranged in a radial pattern, resembling a pineapple slice. These plates could be rapidly opened and closed, creating a crushing or sucking action. The exact mechanism of how Anomalocaris consumed its prey is still debated. Some theories suggest it would have crushed the hard exoskeletons of trilobites with these plates. Evidence for this comes from fossilized trilobites found with distinct bite marks that match Anomalocaris' mouth parts, as well as fossilized gut contents containing fragments of trilobite shells. Other theories propose that the mouth functioned more like a vacuum, sucking in soft-bodied organisms or even smaller disarticulated bits of prey. For vision, Anomalocaris possessed a pair of large, prominent compound eyes. Located on stalks or fixed lobes on the sides of its head. These eyes were remarkably sophisticated for their time, consisting of thousands of individual lenses similar to the eyes of modern insects and crustaceans. For example, some fossilized Anomalocaris eyes have been found to contain over 16,000 lenses. This highly developed vision would have provided Anomalocaris with an exceptional panoramic view of its surroundings and an acute ability to detect movement, giving it a significant advantage over its prey, which often had simpler eyes, or no eyes at all. In the relatively dim conditions of the Cambrian seafloor, such keen eyesight would have been invaluable for a predator. The body of Anomalocaris was segmented and flattened, equipped with a series of flexible lobes or flaps along its sides. These lobes were used for undulating propulsion, allowing the animal to swim through the water. It would have moved by rippling these flaps in a coordinated wave-like motion, similar to how some modern cuttlefish or rays swim. This form of locomotion would have given Anomalocaris significant maneuverability and speed in the water, enabling it to pursue prey actively. A fan-like tail provided additional steering and propulsion. As the apex predator, Anomalocaris played a crucial role in the Cambrian marine ecosystem. Its hunting pressure likely drove the evolution of defensive strategies in its prey, such as the development of hard exoskeletons, spines, and the ability to burrow into sediments for protection. This ongoing evolutionary arms race between predator and prey was a key factor in the rapid diversification of life during the Cambrian explosion. The disappearance of Anomalocaris towards the end of the Cambrian period coincided with the rise of new types of predators, including more advanced arthropods and early jawless fish, indicating a continuous turnover of dominant species in Earth's ever-changing oceans. Anomalocaris stands as a powerful reminder of the unique and often bizarre forms that emerged during the earliest stages of complex animal life, long before vertebrates came to dominate the predatory niches. The Cambrian period, approximately 541 million to 485 million years ago, was a pivotal time in the history of life, often referred to as the Cambrian explosion. This era saw the rapid diversification of animal life and the emergence of many of the basic body plans still seen today. Alongside the first complex predators, such as Anomalocaris, came an array of equally strange and fascinating prey animals, many of which developed novel defensive strategies. Among these, Hallucigenia sparsa stands out as one of the most bizarre and intriguing creatures from the Burgess Shale fossil site in British Columbia, Canada. First described in 1977 from incomplete fossils, Hallucigenia was initially a source of considerable confusion for paleontologists. Its worm-like body, measuring between 1 and 5 centimeters in length, presented a bewildering arrangement of spines, tentacles, and what appeared to be legs. The initial reconstruction depicted it walking on long stilt-like spines, with a row of tentacles on its back, and a head that was difficult to discern. This upside-down and backwards interpretation only added to its enigmatic reputation, fittingly earning it the name Hallucigenia, referencing its hallucinatory appearance. However, subsequent discoveries and re-examination of existing fossils, particularly in the 2000s and 2014, led to a revolutionary reinterpretation of its anatomy. Researchers in China found more complete specimens, and a detailed study of the Burgess Shale fossils using modern imaging techniques revealed key features previously missed. It became clear that the structures initially thought to be legs were actually a series of rigid conical spines, while the structures thought to be spines were, in fact, pairs of flexible, clawed legs. What was once thought to be its head was often a decayed gut content or a stain, and its true head was finally identified as a distinct, if small, bulbous structure at one end of its body, often bearing a simple pair of eyes and a mouth. With this revised understanding, Hallucigenia was correctly oriented. It walked on 7 to 10 pairs of soft, stumpy legs, each ending in a pair of tiny claws, while a single row of 7 or 8 prominent rigid spines projected upwards from its back. Additionally, it had 3 pairs of tentacles or appendages near its head, likely used for feeding. These tentacles also bore smaller claws, possibly to grasp food. Its body was segmented, and it possessed a tube-like gut. The prominent sharp spines running along Hallucigenia's back are universally interpreted as a primary defensive mechanism against predators. In an environment where active predators like Anomalocaris were developing sophisticated methods of capture and consumption, a creature the size of Hallucigenia would have been an easy target without adequate protection. The spines would have made it very difficult for a predator to swallow or even grasp Hallucigenia. Imagine trying to eat a living pincushion. The spines would deter all but the most determined or specialized attackers. Their pointed, stiff nature suggests they were not merely decorative, but served a crucial purpose in survival. These spines were not necessarily articulated. Rather, they were fixed projections from its dorsal surface, likely embedded in its skin. Their conical shape and pointed tips would have provided a formidable physical barrier. A predator attempting to bite down on Hallucigenia would be met with these sharp protrusions, potentially causing injury, or, at the very least, discomfort, leading the predator to release its prey and seek an easier meal. This form of passive defense, relying on physical deterrence, is common in modern invertebrates, such as sea urchins or some caterpillars, which employ spines or bristles to ward off attackers. The existence of such a robust defensive adaptation in a relatively small organism like Hallucigenia speaks volumes about the intense evolutionary arms race occurring during the Cambrian period. The emergence of new predatory strategies, such as the powerful grasping appendages and crushing mouthparts of Anomalocaris, drove the rapid evolution of diverse defensive features in prey animals. Spines, hard exoskeletons, burrowing behaviors, and rapid swimming all emerged as responses to this new predatory pressure. Hallucigenia represents a particularly striking example of this defensive innovation. Furthermore, the specific arrangement of Hallucigenia's spines in a single row along its back provided optimal protection for its vulnerable dorsal surface, which would have been exposed to attacks from above by larger swimming predators, while its soft underside, supported by its stumpy legs, might have been more vulnerable. Its overall spiky appearance would likely have served as a strong visual deterrent. The presence of these spines, combined with its relatively small size and seemingly awkward gait, suggests it relied heavily on this passive defense rather than speed or complex escape maneuvers. The study of Hallucigenia not only sheds light on ancient defensive strategies, but also highlights the iterative nature of scientific discovery. Initial interpretations based on limited or distorted fossil evidence can be overturned by new, more complete finds and advanced analytical techniques. The story of Hallucigenia is a compelling narrative of how even the most perplexing ancient creatures can yield vital information about the early evolution of life and the intricate dance between predator and prey in the ancient oceans. Its unique spiny form was a testament to the deadly pressures faced by marine life in the dawn of animal complexity. The Ordovician period, following the Cambrian, spanned from approximately 485 million to 443 million years ago. This period marked a significant chapter in the history of marine life, characterized by a continued diversification of invertebrates and, most notably, the evolution of larger, more sophisticated predators that began to dominate the deepening oceans. While the Cambrian saw the first complex ecosystems and the rise of apex predators like Anomalocaris, the Ordovician ushered in a new era of gigantism among marine invertebrates, fundamentally reshaping the oceanic food webs. The oceans of the Ordovician were vast and shallow across much of the globe, with warm temperatures and high sea levels. This allowed for the proliferation of diverse marine invertebrates, including brachiopods, trilobites, crinoids, bryozoans, and graptolites. Reef ecosystems, primarily built by sponges and early corals, also expanded significantly, creating complex habitats. This abundant base of prey animals provided the ecological opportunity for predators to grow larger and more specialized. One of the most significant evolutionary developments of the Ordovician was the diversification and gigantism of cephalopods. These marine mollusks, which include modern squids, octopuses and nautiluses, had already appeared in the Cambrian, but it was in the Ordovician that some lineages reached truly colossal sizes, becoming the undisputed apex predators of their time. These early cephalopods were characterized by their external shells, which varied widely in shape. While some were coiled, similar to modern nautiluses, the most fearsome predators of the Ordovician were the orthocones, cephalopods with long, straight, cone-shaped shells. These straight-shelled nautiloids could grow to astonishing lengths, reaching up to 6 meters, about 20 feet or more. Their size far exceeded that of any known terrestrial animal at the time. Their shells were divided into multiple chambers, which could be filled with gas or liquid to control buoyancy, allowing them to move vertically through the water column. This adaptation gave them a distinct advantage over many bottom-dwelling or less mobile prey animals. Their large size, coupled with their ability to maneuver in 3 dimensions, made them formidable hunters. The rise of these massive cephalopods changed the dynamic of Ordovician marine ecosystems. They would have preyed upon a wide range of animals, including trilobites, early fish, other mollusks, and brachiopods. Their mouthparts, located within a ring of tentacles at the opening of their shell, likely consisted of a beak-like structure similar to modern cephalopods, capable of crushing the hard exoskeletons of their prey. The development of such powerful predators put immense selective pressure on other marine life, driving the evolution of new defensive strategies and faster swimming abilities. Another group of important predators in the Ordovician were the Eurypterids, or sea scorpions. While they had emerged in the Cambrian, they diversified and grew larger in the Ordovician. Though not as large as the giant orthocones, some Ordovician Eurypterids reached lengths of over 1 meter. These arthropods possessed powerful pincer-like claws and a long, segmented body, often ending in a spiked tail. They were agile swimmers and likely ambush predators in shallow marine environments and coastal waters, preying on fish, other arthropods, and smaller invertebrates. Their success contributed to the overall intensity of predatory interactions in Ordovician seas. Early forms of jawless fish, known as ostracoderms, were also present in the Ordovician. These were armoured fish, but they lacked jaws and typically fed by sucking in small food particles. While not large predators themselves, their evolution marked a significant step towards the jawed fish that would later dominate the Devonian. Their armour provided some defence against the giant cephalopods and Eurypterids. The deepening of the oceans during the Ordovician, a result of continental flooding and rising sea levels, created more diverse habitats and opportunities for larger organisms. This expansion of marine space, combined with abundant food resources, allowed for the gigantism observed in apex predators. The Ordovician also experienced a major diversification of reef-building organisms, which provided complex 3-dimensional structures that sheltered a myriad of smaller creatures, creating rich hunting grounds for the larger predators. Towards the end of the Ordovician, the period concluded with a series of massive glaciations and subsequent changes in sea level, leading to the second largest extinction event in Earth's history, the Ordovician Silurian extinction. This event significantly impacted marine life, causing a decline in many groups, including some of the giant orthocones. However, their legacy as the first truly colossal apex predators in Earth's oceans firmly established the notion of a dangerous competitive marine environment that would continue to evolve throughout geological time. The Ordovician was a time when the oceans truly began to assert their dominance as a realm of formidable and often terrifying giants. Among the most impressive and dominant predators of the Ordovician period, approximately 485 million to 443 million years ago, were the giant nautiloids. These fascinating marine mollusks, distant relatives of modern squids, octopuses and nautiluses, were characterized by their distinctive external shells and their ability to grow to truly colossal sizes, establishing themselves as the undisputed apex predators of the Ordovician seas. While cephalopods had appeared earlier in the Cambrian, it was in the Ordovician that their diversity and size exploded. The most striking of these were the orthocones, a group of nautiloids with straight cone-shaped shells. Unlike the coiled shells of modern nautiluses, the shells of orthocones extended linearly, sometimes reaching lengths of 6 meters, about 20 feet, or even more. Species like Endoceras and Camaraceras are prime examples of these magnificent ancient giants. Imagine a living torpedo, 6 meters long, cruising through the ancient oceans. This was the reality of the giant orthocones. The shell of a nautiloid was not a solid structure. It was divided internally into multiple chambers called camera. These chambers were connected by a tube-like structure called a siphuncle. The siphuncle allowed the nautiloid to regulate the amount of gas and liquid within each chamber, thereby controlling its buoyancy. By adjusting the gas-to-liquid ratio, these cephalopods could ascend or descend through the water column with remarkable precision, a sophisticated adaptation for an animal of their time. This buoyancy control gave them a significant advantage over many bottom-dwelling or passively floating prey, allowing them to hunt in 3 dimensions. The living animal occupied only the outermost and largest chamber of the shell, known as the body chamber. At the opening of this chamber, a ring of numerous tentacles surrounded a powerful beak-like mouth. While the exact number and structure of their tentacles are not fully known from the fossil record, by analogy with modern nautiluses, they would have been used to grasp and manipulate prey. The beak, made of chitin, would have been strong enough to crush the shells or exoskeletons of their victims. The ability to crush hard parts was a crucial adaptation in an era when much of the available prey, such as trilobites and early armoured fish, possessed hard coverings. The primary method of locomotion for giant nautiloids was jet propulsion. They would draw water into their mantle cavity and then forcefully expel it through a funnel-like siphon, propelling themselves backward. While likely not capable of high-speed bursts like modern squids, their immense size and continuous jet propulsion would have allowed them to move effectively through the water, covering large distances and ambushing unsuspecting prey. Their massive shells would have provided protection from attack, while their large size deterred many potential predators. The diet of these giant predators would have been varied, consisting of almost anything they could capture and subdue. Evidence suggests they preyed upon a wide range of marine invertebrates, including trilobites, smaller mollusks, brachiopods, and early, jawless fish, ostracoderms. The fossil record shows interactions, such as crushed trilobite exoskeletons found in nautiloid fossils, supporting this predatory role. The emergence of such large and powerful predators in the Ordovician put immense evolutionary pressure on other marine organisms, driving the development of better defences, faster escape mechanisms, and more robust armour in prey species. This predatory prey arms race was a key driver of evolution during this period. The success of giant nautiloids as apex predators contributed significantly to the structure of Ordovician marine ecosystems. They occupied the highest trophic level, regulating populations of their prey and influencing the overall biodiversity of the oceans. Their long reign as top predators lasted throughout much of the Ordovician. Towards the end of the Ordovician period, a major global cooling event led to a series of glaciations and a dramatic drop in sea levels, resulting in the Ordovician Silurian extinction event, the second largest mass extinction in Earth's history. This event severely impacted many marine groups, including the giant orthocone nautiloids. While some nautiloid lineages survived and diversified in later periods, none ever reached the same colossal sizes or held the same undisputed apex predator status as their Ordovician ancestors. Modern nautiluses are much smaller, coiled-shelled descendants, representing a humble remnant of a once dominant group of marine giants. The legacy of the giant Ordovician nautiloids remains as a testament to the early evolution of large, active predation in the Earth's ancient oceans. The ancient seas of the Ordovician period, a vast expanse of time stretching from approximately 485 million to 443 million years ago, witnessed the emergence of a fascinating group of arthropods known as eurypterids, or sea scorpions. These creatures were distant relatives of modern horseshoe crabs and arachnids, characterized by their segmented bodies, hard exoskeletons, and a variety of specialized appendages. Their appearance marked a significant evolutionary step as they began to fill predatory niches in the shallow marine environments that dominated Earth during this era. Early eurypterids were relatively modest in size compared to their later, more colossal descendants, often measuring less than a metre in length. Their body plan typically consisted of 2 main parts: a prosoma, or head section, which bore the eyes and several pairs of appendages, and an opisthozoма, or abdomen, which was segmented and ended in a tail-like telson. The appendages on the prosoma were diverse, including small pincer-like chelicerae at the front, used for grasping food, followed by several pairs of walking legs. Towards the rear of the prosoma, some early forms began to develop flattened paddle-like limbs, indicating an adaptation for swimming. This combination of walking and swimming abilities made them versatile inhabitants of their watery world. The primary habitat for these pioneering sea scorpions was the shallow marine environment. They thrived in coastal areas, lagoons, and the epicontinental seas that covered large portions of the continents during the Ordovician. These were often warm, well-lit waters, rich in marine invertebrates. The seafloor was typically soft, composed of muds and sands, which Eurypterids could navigate using their walking legs. Their presence in these shallow waters suggests they were active hunters, ambushing or pursuing smaller prey. The predatory niche occupied by early Eurypterids was crucial in the evolving Ordovician marine food webs. While the oceans were already home to formidable predators like the giant straight-shelled nautiloids, which were cephalopods reaching several meters in length, Eurypterids likely targeted a different range of prey. Their pincer-like chelicerae were well suited for grasping and tearing smaller invertebrates. Their diet probably included trilobites, which were abundant on the seafloor, as well as various worms and other soft-bodied creatures. The development of swimming paddles allowed them to move more efficiently through the water column, expanding their hunting grounds beyond the immediate seafloor. This ability to swim, combined with their armoured bodies, made them effective predators in their environment. The evolutionary significance of Eurypterids lies in their role as some of the earliest large arthropod predators. Following the Cambrian explosion, which saw a rapid diversification of complex life forms, the Ordovician oceans continued to evolve more sophisticated ecosystems. Eurypterids, with their specialised feeding appendages and increasing mobility, were key players in this development. They represented a successful lineage of chelicerates that adapted to a predatory lifestyle in the marine realm, setting the stage for the even more impressive forms that would emerge in later periods. Coexistence with other dominant Ordovician life forms shaped the Eurypterids' early evolution. While giant nautiloids were the undisputed apex predators of the open ocean, Eurypterids likely specialised in shallower, more confined waters or focused on different prey sizes. Trilobites, though numerous, were often armoured, posing a challenge for Eurypterids, but also providing a potential food source for those with stronger crushing capabilities. The competition and interaction with these other groups drove the diversification of Eurypterid forms and strategies. The fossil record of early Eurypterids is found in various locations around the world, reflecting the global distribution of shallow seas during the Ordovician. Notable fossil sites in North America and Europe have yielded well-preserved specimens, allowing paleontologists to reconstruct their anatomy and infer their lifestyles. These early fossils show a gradual progression in body plan, with increasing specialization of appendages for different functions, such as more efficient swimming or more powerful grasping. The transition from purely walking legs to a combination of walking and swimming appendages was a critical initial adaptation, enabling them to exploit a wider range of food sources and escape from larger predators. Their hard exoskeletons provided both protection and a framework for muscle attachment, allowing for powerful movements. However, this also meant they had to molt, or shed their old exoskeleton, in order to grow. This process would have left them temporarily vulnerable to predators, a common challenge for all arthropods. Despite this vulnerability, their armoured bodies generally offered good defence against the simpler, jawless fish and other invertebrates of the Ordovician. The success of these early sea scorpions laid the groundwork for their explosive diversification and increase in size during the subsequent Silurian period, where they would truly become formidable figures in prehistoric aquatic environments. The Silurian period, spanning from approximately 443 million to 419 million years ago, marked the zenith of Eurypterid evolution. Following the Ordovician Silurian extinction event, which cleared many ecological niches, the sea scorpions underwent an extraordinary diversification, reaching their peak in both size and variety. This era saw them not only continue their dominance in marine environments, but also make significant forays into freshwater and brackish water habitats, becoming some of the most formidable predators of their time. The oceans of the Silurian were recovering and flourishing, with new reef systems forming and a greater abundance of fish, albeit still mostly jawless forms. This rich environment provided ample opportunities for Eurypterids to diversify. Their body plans became more specialized, with a wider array of shapes and sizes. Some species remained relatively small, continuing to scavenge or prey on small invertebrates. However, many others evolved into much larger forms, becoming active and powerful hunters. A key development during the Silurian was the expansion of Eurypterids into freshwater and brackish water environments. While their Ordovician ancestors were primarily marine, Silurian forms are increasingly found in fossil deposits that indicate river deltas, estuaries, and even inland lakes. This move into less saline waters was a significant evolutionary step, allowing them to exploit new food sources and potentially escape competition or predation from purely marine creatures. This adaptation required physiological changes to cope with varying salinity levels, such as more efficient osmoregulation, the process of maintaining proper water and salt balance within their bodies. Within these diverse habitats, Silurian sea scorpions occupied a range of ecological roles. Many were still active predators, using their powerful chelicerae to capture prey. Some developed larger, more robust claws, capable of crushing the shells of trilobites or the armoured bodies of early fish. Others, with more slender appendages, might have specialised in softer-bodied prey or acted as scavengers. The development of larger, more efficient swimming paddles, particularly on their last pair of appendages, allowed them to move with considerable speed through the water, making them effective pursuit predators. Notable Silurian eurypterid genera, besides the colossal Jaekelopterus, which will be discussed in detail later, include Pterygotus and Megalograptus. Pterygotus was one of the largest eurypterids, often exceeding 2 meters in length, with massive, powerful chelicerae that resembled those of a modern lobster. Its large size and formidable claws suggest it was an apex predator in its environment, capable of tackling large prey. Megalograptus, from the Ordovician Silurian boundary, was also quite large and possessed unique, spiny grasping appendages on its prosoma, indicating a specialized method for capturing prey. These examples illustrate the diverse predatory strategies that evolved within the group. The size range of Silurian eurypterids was impressive, from small forms only a few centimeters long to giants exceeding 2 meters. This gigantism in arthropods is often linked to higher oxygen levels in the atmosphere and oceans during the Paleozoic, which allowed for more efficient respiration in their tracheal or gillbook systems. Larger bodies require more oxygen, and an oxygen-rich environment would have facilitated their growth to such immense sizes. The relationship between Silurian eurypterids and early fish was a dynamic one of coevolution. While fish were still relatively primitive, mostly jawless, and often armoured, they represented a significant food source for large eurypterids. The development of jaws in fish during the late Silurian would eventually lead to more formidable fish predators, but for much of the period, eurypterids held the upper hand in many aquatic ecosystems. The presence of armoured fish may have driven the evolution of stronger crushing claws in some eurypterid species. Famous Silurian eurypterid fossil localities provide a wealth of information about their diversity and abundance. The Bertie Group in New York State, United States is particularly renowned for its exquisitely preserved eurypterid fossils, including complete skeletons, which have allowed scientists to reconstruct their anatomy and understand their life cycles, including evidence of molting. These fossil beds indicate that eurypterids were a dominant component of the fauna in these ancient aquatic environments. The body plan of Silurian eurypterids showed significant refinement compared to their Ordovician ancestors. The swimming paddles became larger and more specialized, providing powerful propulsion. The chelicerae diversified, ranging from small pincers for delicate manipulation to massive serrated claws for tearing flesh. Their segmented bodies allowed for flexibility, aiding in both swimming and maneuvering on the substrate. This era truly represented the pinnacle of sea scorpion evolution, establishing them as the top predators in many aquatic realms before the eventual rise of more advanced jawed fish would begin to challenge their supremacy. Among the formidable predators that roamed the ancient waters of the Silurian period, one stands out for its sheer, terrifying size: Jaekelopterus rhenaniae. This colossal creature holds the distinction of being one of the largest arthropods known to have ever lived, a true giant among sea scorpions and an apex predator of its time. Its immense dimensions and powerful weaponry paint a vivid picture of a prehistoric world where the oceans were indeed deadlier than the land. Jaekelopterus was discovered in the early 2000s, with its most significant fossil remains, including a massive chelicera, the pincer-like claw, found in a quarry near Prüm in Germany. The discovery of this single, remarkably preserved claw, measuring nearly 46 centimeters long, allowed paleontologists to estimate the total body length of Jaekelopterus. Based on comparisons with other known eurypterids, scientists calculated that Jaekelopterus rhenaniae could reach an astonishing length of up to 2.5 meters, or 8 feet. To put this into perspective, that is longer than an average human is tall, and far larger than any living arthropod today, including the largest crabs or scorpions. This makes it the largest known arthropod in Earth's history. The key features that made Jaekelopterus such a formidable predator were its massive, powerful chelicerae. These were not just simple pincers, they were equipped with sharp, tooth-like structures along their inner edges, designed for grasping, tearing, and dismembering prey. The sheer size and strength implied by these claws suggest that Jaekelopterus was capable of overpowering and consuming a wide range of animals. Its body was streamlined, typical of many eurypterids, with a segmented opisthosoma and large, flattened swimming paddles at the rear of its prosoma. These paddles would have enabled it to move with considerable speed and agility through the water, allowing it to pursue or ambush its victims. Unlike many of its marine eurypterid relatives, Jaekelopterus is believed to have inhabited freshwater or brackish water environments, specifically river deltas and estuaries. The geological context of its fossils points to such a habitat. This adaptation to less saline waters meant it would have preyed upon the early fish that were diversifying in these environments, as well as other, smaller eurypterids and possibly early amphibians or other invertebrates that ventured near the water's edge. Its presence in these transitional aquatic environments highlights the ecological versatility that eurypterids achieved during the Silurian. The predatory strategy of Jaekelopterus was likely one of ambush and power. Its large size would have made it a dominant force, capable of surprising and overwhelming its prey. Imagine a creature the size of a small crocodile, but with an armoured exoskeleton and massive serrated claws, lurking in the murky waters of a Silurian river. It would have been the ultimate aquatic predator in its ecosystem, sitting at the very top of the food chain. Its hunting prowess would have shaped the evolution of its prey, driving the development of armour or faster swimming abilities in early fish. The immense size of Jaekelopterus also provides indirect clues about the conditions of the Silurian Earth. The gigantism seen in many Paleozoic arthropods, including insects and eurypterids, is often linked to higher atmospheric oxygen levels. Greater oxygen concentrations would have allowed for more efficient diffusion of oxygen through their respiratory systems, gillbugs or tracheal systems, enabling them to grow to larger sizes than would be possible in today's oxygen levels. While the exact oxygen levels of the Silurian are debated, the existence of Jaekelopterus supports the idea of an atmosphere conducive to arthropod gigantism. The fossil evidence for Jaekelopterus is primarily based on its distinctive and remarkably large chelicerae. These claws are so unique and disproportionately large that even fragmentary remains can be confidently attributed to this genus. The subsequent reconstruction of its full body size relied on scaling up from more complete skeletons of smaller, related eurypterids, using the known ratios between claw size and total body length. This scientific detective work allowed paleontologists to bring this ancient terror to life. The life cycle of such a massive arthropod would have involved periodic molting, where it shed its exoskeleton to grow. This process would have left Jaekelopterus temporarily vulnerable, soft-bodied and unable to defend itself effectively for a period of time. Despite this inherent vulnerability, its overall success and large size indicate that it was able to navigate these challenges effectively within its environment. The reign of Jaekelopterus and other giant eurypterids as apex predators eventually waned with the rise of more advanced jawed fish in the Devonian period. These fish, with their more efficient swimming, powerful jaws and internal skeletons, would eventually outcompete and displace the eurypterids from their top predatory positions. However, for a significant period in the Silurian, Jaekelopterus stood as a testament to the incredible evolutionary potential of arthropods, a true terror of the ancient waters, dominating its world with unparalleled size and predatory might. The evolution of jaws was one of the most significant and revolutionary innovations in the history of vertebrate life. Before jaws, the earliest vertebrates, like the jawless fish, agnathons, of the Cambrian and Ordovician periods, fed by filter feeding or by sucking in small organisms. Their mouths were simple openings, incapable of biting or chewing. The appearance of jaws, occurring during the Silurian period and diversifying dramatically in the Devonian period, fundamentally changed the way vertebrates could feed, allowing them to grasp, bite and tear prey, leading to a massive increase in predatory capabilities and a subsequent explosion in marine diversity. The prevailing scientific hypothesis for the origin of jaws is that they evolved from the gill arches, also known as pharyngeal arches, which are skeletal rods that support the gills in jawless fish. In early jawless vertebrates, there were several pairs of these arches located behind the mouth, helping to pump water over the gills for respiration. Over evolutionary time, the first pair of these gill arches, positioned closest to the mouth, underwent a series of modifications. They gradually became larger and more robust, moving forward and eventually articulating, connecting, to form the upper and lower jaws. The second pair of gill arches is thought to have contributed to the support of the jaws, eventually forming the higher mandibula, a bone involved in jaw suspension in many fish. This transformation was not sudden but a gradual process. Early stages of this evolution might have involved a simple hinging mechanism, allowing the mouth to open wider and exert more force. The earliest forms of jawed fish, known as gnathostoms, first appeared in the fossil record during the early Silurian period, roughly 440 million years ago. These early gnathostomes were still quite primitive, but they possessed the defining feature of true jaws. Their jaws were simple cartilaginous structures, lacking the complex musculature and dentition seen in later forms. The key advantage conferred by jaws was the ability to actively seize and process larger food items. Jawless fish were limited to feeding on detritus, small particles, or by sucking in soft-bodied prey. With jaws, vertebrates could become active predators, capturing and consuming more substantial organisms. This shift opened up entirely new ecological niches. Predators with jaws could exploit a wider range of food sources, including other fish, larger invertebrates, and even other jawless vertebrates. This increased predatory pressure, in turn, drove an arms race in the oceans, leading to the evolution of defensive adaptations in prey species, such as harder shells, armour, and faster escape mechanisms. The Devonian period, spanning from approximately 419 million to 359 million years ago, is often called the Age of Fish, precisely because of the explosive diversification of jawed fish during this time. Following their Silurian origins, gnathostoms rapidly diversified into several major groups, including the placoderms, chondrichthyans, sharks, rays, and chimeras, and osteichthyans, bony fish. Placoderms, or plate-skinned fish, were among the earliest and most dominant jawed fish in the Devonian. They possessed heavy bony armour covering their heads and bodies, providing both protection and attachment points for powerful muscles. Their jaws were often equipped with sharp bony plates or self-sharpening structures rather than true teeth in the modern sense, but these were highly effective for biting and crushing. Placoderms occupied a wide range of ecological roles, from bottom-dwelling scavengers to gigantic apex predators. Their success demonstrated the immediate adaptive advantages of having jaws. Chondrichthyans, the cartilaginous fish, also began their evolutionary journey in the Devonian. While early forms were not as dominant as placoderms, their flexible cartilaginous skeletons and the development of true teeth allowed them to become agile predators. These early sharks were relatively small, but possessed jaws that could grasp and tear, giving them a significant advantage over jawless competitors. The osteichthyans, or bony fish, also diversified rapidly during the Devonian. This group includes the vast majority of modern fish. Their evolution involved the development of skeletons primarily made of bone, which offered structural support and a strong framework for muscle attachment. The bony fish split into two major lineages: the ray-finned fish, Actinopterygii, which would go on to dominate aquatic environments, and the lobe-finned fish, Sarcopterygii, a small but immensely important group that includes the ancestors of all land vertebrates. The jaws of bony fish, supported by bone, allowed for highly precise and powerful biting, enabling diverse feeding strategies. The development of jaws was not just about biting. It also involved significant changes to the skull and musculature. The skull became more complex, allowing for the articulation of the jawbones. Powerful muscles evolved to close the jaws with force. This entire integrated system allowed for a revolutionary shift in feeding ecology, making vertebrates capable of actively hunting and manipulating prey in ways that were impossible for their jawless ancestors. The impact of this innovation was immense. The ability to bite and chew led to an increase in body size among predators as they could tackle larger prey. It also drove the co-evolution of defences in prey species, such as stronger shells, dermal armour, and faster swimming abilities. This evolutionary arms race contributed to the overall increase in complexity and diversity of marine life during the Devonian. The success of jawed fish fundamentally reshaped marine ecosystems, establishing predatory dynamics that continue to influence aquatic food webs to this day. The invention of jaws was a turning point, not just for fish, but for the entire vertebrate lineage, laying the groundwork for the evolution of all subsequent jawed vertebrates, including amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. The Devonian period, spanning from approximately 419 million to 359 million years ago, is often referred to as the Age of Fish for a very good reason. During this geological epoch, fish underwent an explosive diversification, becoming the dominant and most varied vertebrate group in both marine and freshwater environments. Among these diverse fish, one group stands out for its sheer size, formidable appearance, and ecological dominance: the placoderms, often known as the armoured fish. Placoderms, plate-skinned, were an extinct class of armoured prehistoric fish. They were among the earliest jawed vertebrates and were incredibly successful throughout the Devonian, occupying a wide range of ecological niches from bottom-dwelling scavengers to gigantic apex predators. Their most striking characteristic was their heavy bony armour. This armour was not just a protective outer layer. It was an integral part of their skeleton, covering their heads and often their anterior front parts of the bodies. This armour was made up of large, interlocking plates of dermal bone. The head and trunk shields were separate but articulated, allowing for some movement between the two sections. The bony armour of placoderm served multiple purposes. Primarily, it offered robust protection against the emerging and increasingly powerful predators of the Devonian seas, including other placoderms and early sharks. The thick plates made them formidable targets. Additionally, the armour provided attachment points for powerful muscles, especially those involved in jaw movement and head control, contributing to their predatory prowess. For some species, the armour might have also helped with buoyancy control or acted as a mineral reservoir. Placoderms exhibited an astonishing diversity of forms and sizes. Some were small, flattened bottom dwellers, camouflaged against the seafloor. Others were fast-swimming, torpedo-shaped predators, yet others, like Dunkleosteus, grew to truly immense proportions, becoming the undisputed giants of their ecosystems. They inhabited a wide range of aquatic environments, from shallow coastal waters and reef systems to deeper offshore areas and even freshwater rivers and lakes. Their jaws were a key innovation that contributed to their success. Unlike modern fish with individual teeth rooted in sockets, many placoderms possessed unique self-sharpening bony plates or outgrowths of their jaw bones that functioned as teeth. These plates would often grind against each other as the jaws opened and closed, maintaining a sharp edge. The powerful musculature attached to their armoured heads allowed them to exert tremendous biting forces, enabling them to crush shells, bones, and the tough exoskeletons of invertebrates. The Devonian seas were vibrant and complex ecosystems, and placoderms were at the top of many marine food chains. They preyed on early bony fish, cartilaginous fish, and various invertebrates, including trilobites, mollusks, and eurypterids, sea scorpions. The rise of placoderms, with their predatory capabilities, contributed to an evolutionary arms race, driving the development of better defences in their prey, such as stronger shells and faster swimming abilities. Despite their dominance throughout the Devonian, the reign of placoderms came to an abrupt end at the close of the period, during the late Devonian extinction event, approximately 359 million years ago. This extinction event, though less severe than the Permian Triassic extinction, disproportionately affected marine life, particularly tropical reef communities and large armoured fish. The precise causes of this extinction are still debated, but likely involve factors such as global cooling, ocean anoxia, lack of oxygen, and possibly large-scale volcanism or asteroid impacts. Following this event, placoderms largely disappeared from the fossil record. Their extinction paved the way for the ascendance of other groups of jawed fish, particularly the cartilaginous fish, chondrichthyans, and the bony fish, osteichthyans. which diversified rapidly in the Carboniferous period and beyond. While placoderms are now extinct, their legacy as the first dominant jawed vertebrates, with their formidable armour and powerful jaws, remains a crucial chapter in the evolutionary history of life on Earth. Their fossils provide vivid evidence of a time when the oceans were ruled by these incredible armoured predators. Among the many formidable creatures that inhabited the ancient Devonian seas, one stands out as a true apex predator, Dunkleosteus. This heavily armoured fish was arguably the most terrifying marine animal of its time, dominating the oceans approximately 380 million to 360 million years ago. Its immense size, unique jaw structure, and powerful biting force made it an unparalleled hunter. Dunkleosteus belonged to the placoderms, the group of armoured fish that characterised the Age of Fish. Like other placoderms, its head and much of its front body were encased in thick, bony plates. These plates were not lightweight. They contributed significantly to its overall weight and provided formidable protection. The largest species, Dunkleosteus terrelli, is estimated to have reached lengths of up to 6 to 9 metres, making it one of the largest marine predators of the Paleozoic era. Its sheer scale meant it had few, if any, natural enemies once it reached adulthood. The most distinctive and terrifying feature of Dunkleosteus was its jaws. Unlike most modern fish or even other prehistoric predators with true teeth, Dunkleosteus possessed large, sharp, bony plates that protruded from its jaw bones. These plates were essentially extensions of its armoured skull and were arranged in a self-sharpening design. As the animal opened and closed its mouth, the upper and lower bony plates would slide past each other, grinding against each other to maintain a continuously sharp, blade-like edge. This unique dental arrangement allowed Dunkleosteus to slice through flesh and crush bone with incredible efficiency. Studies on the biomechanics of its jaw reveal a truly extraordinary biting force. Researchers have estimated that Dunkleosteus could exert a bite force of up to 5,000 to 6,000 newtons at the tip of its jaws, and an even more crushing force of up to 7,400 newtons further back in its mouth. To put this in perspective, this bite force rivals or even exceeds that of modern crocodiles, and even some of the most powerful extinct predators like Tyrannosaurus rex. This immense force, combined with its sharp bony plates, meant that Dunkleosteus could tear through the armour of other placoderms, the hard shells of ammonoids, and the bones of early fish with ease. Beyond its powerful jaws, Dunkleosteus was built for speed and agility in bursts. While its front half was heavily armoured, its tail region was more flexible, allowing for powerful propulsion through the water. Its eyes were relatively large, suggesting good vision, which would have been crucial for hunting in the often murky waters of the Devonian. Its body shape indicates it was likely an ambush predator, using its speed to quickly close in on unsuspecting prey. As an apex predator, Dunkleosteus sat at the very top of the Devonian marine food chain. Its diet likely consisted of anything it could overpower, including other large placoderms, early sharks, lobe-finned fish, and various marine invertebrates. Evidence from fossil stomach contents and bite marks on other fossilized bones suggests it was not a picky eater. Its massive size and incredible bite force allowed it to consume a wide variety of prey, securing its position as the ocean's dominant hunter. The fossil record of Dunkleosteus is found in various marine deposits across North America, Europe, and Morocco, indicating a widespread distribution in the Devonian seas. The most complete and significant fossils have been found in the Cleveland Shale of Ohio, United States, providing much of the data for reconstructing its terrifying form and understanding its predatory capabilities. These finds often consist of the heavy, armoured head and thoracic shields, as the cartilaginous tail section rarely fossilizes. Despite its impressive reign, Dunkleosteus, along with most other placoderms, eventually disappeared from the fossil record during the late Devonian extinction event. This extinction, while not as severe as the Permian Triassic event, profoundly reshaped marine ecosystems. The reasons for Dunkleosteus's demise, along with its entire group, are still debated but likely relate to widespread ocean anoxia, changing sea levels, and perhaps competition from the diversifying cartilaginous and bony fish groups that eventually took over the top predatory niches. Dunkleosteus remains a powerful symbol of prehistoric marine dominance. Its unique and formidable adaptations demonstrate the diverse evolutionary paths taken by early vertebrates, and highlight a period in Earth's history when the oceans were truly ruled by armoured giants with bone-crushing jaws. Its legacy continues to fascinate scientists and the public alike, reminding us of the incredible and often terrifying creatures that once roamed our planet's ancient waters. The Permian Triassic extinction event, often referred to as the Great Dying, represents the most severe biotic crisis in Earth's history, occurring approximately 252 million years ago. Its impact on marine life was catastrophic, leading to the demise of an estimated 96% of all marine species. This profound loss transformed the vibrant, diverse oceans of the late Paleozoic era into a nearly empty, desolate realm, profoundly altering the course of marine evolution for millions of years. Before this cataclysm, Permian oceans teemed with a rich array of life forms that had flourished for hundreds of millions of years. Reef systems, built by sponges, algae, and various invertebrate groups like rugose and tabulate corals, created complex three-dimensional habitats. Brachiopods, often resembling bivalves but belonging to a distinct phylum, were incredibly diverse and abundant, carpeting vast areas of the seafloor. Crinoids, or sea lilies, swayed in vast meadows. Trilobites, ancient arthropods that had been present since the Cambrian, were still diverse. Ammonoids and nautiloids, types of shelled cephalopods, swam in the water column. Diverse fish groups, including cartilaginous sharks and early ray-finned fish, also populated these ancient seas. The Permian was a time of intricate marine food webs, from filter feeders to agile predators. The primary cause of this unprecedented extinction is widely attributed to massive and prolonged volcanic eruptions in the Siberian Traps, a large igneous province located in modern-day Siberia. These eruptions released enormous quantities of greenhouse gases, primarily carbon dioxide and methane, into the atmosphere over tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of years. This massive release of gases triggered a cascading series of environmental disasters, fundamentally altering Earth's atmosphere and oceans. The immediate and most significant effect on the oceans was rapid and extreme global warming. Increased atmospheric carbon dioxide led to a substantial rise in global temperatures, with ocean temperatures increasing by as much as 8 to 10 degrees Celsius in some regions. Warmer water holds less dissolved oxygen, leading to widespread ocean anoxia, a severe reduction or complete absence of oxygen. As oxygen levels plummeted, vast stretches of the deep ocean, and even shallow coastal waters, became uninhabitable for most complex marine life. The decay of dead organisms in these oxygen-depleted zones further consumed any remaining oxygen, creating a positive feedback loop that intensified the anoxia. Geochemical evidence, such as the widespread deposition of black, organic-rich shales, indicating anoxic conditions, at the Permian-Triassic boundary, strongly supports this widespread deoxygenation. In addition to warming and anoxia, the massive influx of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere led to ocean acidification. As carbon dioxide dissolves in seawater, it forms carbonic acid, which lowers the pH of the ocean. This acidification directly impacted marine organisms that built shells or skeletons out of calcium carbonate, such as corals, brachiopods, mollusks, and many types of plankton. The increased acidity made it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for these organisms to extract carbonate ions from the water to build and maintain their hard parts. Their shells would dissolve, and new shell formation would be inhibited. This fatally compromised the structural integrity of countless species, leading to a collapse of reef ecosystems and devastating populations across all trophic levels. Reefs, which had been major architects of marine biodiversity throughout the Paleozoic, virtually disappeared globally for millions of years after the event. The release of other volcanic gases also contributed to the devastation. Sulfur dioxide would have led to acid rain, further stressing terrestrial and coastal ecosystems, and potentially impacting the chemistry of runoff into the oceans. The massive volcanism also likely injected significant amounts of toxic metals into the environment, adding another layer of stress. Furthermore, the initial warming from carbon dioxide could have destabilized methane clathrates, frozen methane hydrates, on the seafloor. The sudden release of this methane, an even more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, would have led to an even more rapid and intense warming phase, exacerbating the anoxia and acidification in a runaway feedback loop. The effects on specific marine groups were catastrophic. Trilobites, which had survived multiple previous extinction events, were completely wiped out. All rugose and tabulate corals vanished. Most species of brachiopods, crinoids, bryozoans, and ammonoids went extinct, with only a few lineages surviving as holdovers. The vast majority of bivalve and gastropod species perished. Even fish groups experienced massive losses. The oceans became biologically impoverished, characterized by reduced biodiversity and simplified food webs. The typical large, complex and interconnected ecosystems of the Paleozoic were replaced by a sparse, stressed community dominated by microbial mats and opportunistic, hardy survivors. The duration of this environmental upheaval was also critical. Unlike some other extinction events that saw relatively quick recovery, the environmental stresses of the Permian Triassic crisis persisted for a very long time, possibly hundreds of thousands to 1 million years. This prolonged period of hostile conditions, characterized by persistent anoxia, acidification, and extreme temperatures, severely inhibited the recovery of life. The world ocean became a realm of death, a vast, largely empty expanse where the very conditions of life were profoundly altered. This stark emptiness marked the end of the Paleozoic era and created an ecological vacuum that would eventually slowly be filled by new forms of marine life in the subsequent Triassic period, setting the stage for the Mesozoic era's unique marine predators. Following the unimaginable devastation of the Permian Triassic extinction event, the oceans of the early Triassic period, approximately 251 to 247 million years ago, were a shadow of their former selves. With 96% of all marine species wiped out, the immediate aftermath was characterized by an empty sea, a biologically impoverished environment where life struggled to regain a foothold. The recovery of marine ecosystems was slow and protracted, taking millions of years, as new groups emerged to fill the vast ecological niches left vacant by the Great Dying. The initial phase of recovery, known as the disaster fauna stage, was dominated by a few highly tolerant and opportunistic species. These were typically small, generalist organisms capable of surviving in the harsh, oxygen-depleted and acidic conditions that persisted for a significant period after the main extinction pulse. Lystrosaurus, a terrestrial synapsid, famously diversified on land, but in the oceans, microbial mats became widespread. These simple bacterial and algal communities covered vast areas of the seafloor, indicating continued anoxic conditions that inhibited the growth of more complex bottom-dwelling life. Only a few hardy brachiopod and bivalve species, often with thin shells, managed to persist in reduced numbers. The diversity and abundance of plankton, the microscopic base of the marine food web, were also severely diminished, contributing to the overall lack of productivity. This prolonged period of a low diversity and simplified ecosystems is sometimes referred to as the Triassic Gap, or dead zone. It contrasts sharply with the relatively rapid recovery seen after other mass extinctions, highlighting the unprecedented severity and duration of the environmental stresses associated with the Permian Triassic event. The continued presence of high global temperatures, widespread ocean anoxia, and persistent ocean acidification created a hostile environment that greatly inhibited the re-establishment of complex food webs and diverse communities. It took several million years for marine diversity to begin a substantial rebound. As conditions slowly ameliorated and oxygen levels gradually increased, new groups of marine organisms began to diversify. The first signs of a true recovery involved the proliferation of new ammonoid species. While most Paleozoic ammonoids went extinct, a few lineages survived and underwent a rapid radiation in the early Triassic. These cephalopods quickly diversified into numerous forms, becoming important components of the marine food web. This resurgence of ammonoids is a key indicator of improving ocean conditions, as their shell-forming abilities required less acidic waters. The most significant development in the Triassic oceans, setting the stage for the Mesozoic's formidable marine predators, was the emergence and diversification of marine reptiles. These were not directly related to the marine life that dominated the Paleozoic seas. Instead, they were terrestrial reptiles, part of the diapsid lineage that included dinosaurs, birds, and modern reptiles that began to return to the water. This was an independent evolutionary journey back to the aquatic realm, driven by the vast, empty ecological niches and abundant food sources like fish and ammonoids that awaited them. The earliest true marine reptiles of the Triassic included several distinct groups. One group was the ichthyosaurs, meaning fish lizards. These were among the first fully aquatic marine reptiles to evolve. Early ichthyosaurs, such as Mixosaurus, were less streamlined than their later Jurassic and Cretaceous relatives, possessing more lizard-like bodies with distinct limbs. However, even these early forms showed clear adaptations for swimming, including paddle-like limbs and elongated bodies. They quickly evolved into swift fish-eating predators, indicating the abundance of fish in the recovering seas. Their remarkable adaptations for aquatic life, including live birth, suggest a very rapid evolutionary transition from land to water. Another important group was the Nothosaurs. These were more amphibious than ichthyosaurs, retaining more lizard-like features. They typically had long bodies, long necks, small heads, and paddle-like limbs, suggesting they could move on land as well as in water. Nothosaurs likely hunted fish and other small prey in coastal waters and shallow seas, using their sharp teeth to snatch their victims. Their presence in the fossil record indicates that the shallow marine environments were becoming productive again. The Placodonts were a unique and specialized group of Triassic marine reptiles. Unlike the fish-eating ichthyosaurs and nothosaurs, Placodonts were adapted for crushing hard-shelled invertebrates. They possessed broad, flat, pavement-like teeth in their mouths and on their palates, perfect for grinding up clams, oysters, and other mollusks. Some Placodonts were heavily armored, suggesting a slow, bottom-dwelling lifestyle. Their presence signals the recovery of benthic, bottom-dwelling, invertebrate communities, which provided a new food source for these specialized predators. The recovery of marine ecosystems in the Triassic was a long, gradual process, often called the Mesozoic Marine Revolution. It involved not just the diversification of new life forms, but also a fundamental shift in the dominant groups. The archaic Paleozoic faunas were replaced by groups that would characterize the Mesozoic era. While land life saw the rise of dinosaurs, the oceans were witnessing their own revolution, with the emergence of formidable marine reptiles setting the stage for a new age of marine predation that would define the next 185 million years of Earth's history. This slow, arduous recovery from the Great Dying highlights the resilience of life, but also the immense time required for ecosystems to rebuild after such an unparalleled catastrophe. The ichthyosaurs, often referred to as fish lizards, represent one of the most remarkable examples of evolutionary adaptation, showcasing a complete return to aquatic life by a lineage of terrestrial reptiles. Their origins lie in the early Triassic period, approximately 250 million years ago, a time when Earth's oceans were slowly recovering from the devastating Permian Triassic extinction event. With many ecological niches left vacant, the stage was set for new forms of life to exploit the marine environment, and the ancestors of ichthyosaurs were among the first to seize this opportunity. Unlike fish or amphibians, ichthyosaurs descended from land-dwelling diapsid reptiles, a group that also includes dinosaurs, birds, and modern lizards and crocodiles. The evolutionary path from a four-legged terrestrial reptile to a streamlined, dolphin-like marine predator was incredibly rapid in geological terms, unfolding over just a few million years in the early Triassic. This swift transition is evidenced by the discovery of transitional fossils that show various stages of adaptation to aquatic life. The earliest known ichthyosaur-like reptiles, sometimes called ichthyosauriforms, began to show key adaptations for a semi-aquatic existence. These early forms, such as Cartarhynchus and Chaeohusaurus, had relatively short snouts, large eyes, suggesting good underwater vision, and paddle-like limbs that were still somewhat flexible and could have supported movement on land. Their bodies were not yet fully streamlined, lacking the characteristic dorsal fin and crescent-shaped tail fin of later ichthyosaurs. These early species likely inhabited shallow coastal waters, estuaries, or lagoons, hunting fish and other small aquatic prey. Their limbs, while paddle-like, might have retained some finger bones, indicating a recent terrestrial ancestry. The adaptations for fully aquatic life became progressively more pronounced as ichthyosaurs diversified. Their bodies became increasingly streamlined, reducing drag in water. The limbs transformed into rigid flippers, perfectly suited for steering and stability, rather than propulsion. Propulsion came primarily from their powerful fish-like tails, which evolved into a crescent or a lunate shape, similar to that of modern tunas or sharks, indicating fast, efficient swimming in open water. While early ichthyosaurs had more eel-like tails, the later, more advanced forms developed the iconic shark-like caudal fin. Interestingly, this tail fin was often supported by a downward bend in the vertebral column, a unique feature among vertebrates. Their skull and teeth also underwent significant modifications. Ichthyosaurs generally possessed long, pointed snouts, filled with numerous sharp, conical teeth. This dentition was perfectly adapted for grasping and holding slippery prey like fish and cephalopods. Some larger ichthyosaurs developed more robust teeth for tackling larger marine reptiles or even sharks. Their eyes became exceptionally large, suggesting excellent vision in the often dim underwater environment. The bones around the eye socket formed a sclerotic ring, a bony structure that supported the large eyeball and helped it maintain its shape under the immense pressures of deep diving. One of the most remarkable adaptations of ichthyosaurs, signalling their complete independence from land for reproduction, was viviparity, or live birth. Unlike most reptiles which lay eggs on land, ichthyosaurs gave birth to live young underwater. Fossil evidence of ichthyosaurs with embryos preserved inside the mother, and even a mother in the process of giving birth, unequivocally demonstrates this adaptation. The young were typically born tail first, a common adaptation in marine mammals like dolphins, to prevent drowning during birth. This viviparity allowed ichthyosaurs to remain fully aquatic throughout their entire life cycle, freeing them from the need to return to shore to lay eggs, a constraint that limited many other marine reptiles. The transition to fully aquatic life also necessitated changes in their respiratory system. While they still breathed air with lungs, their skeletal structure suggests adaptations for efficient breathing and potentially deep diving. The flexibility of their rib cages might have allowed for some lung compression, and their ability to hold their breath for extended periods would have been crucial for hunting and avoiding predators. Early ichthyosaur diversification occurred rapidly in the Triassic, filling the ecological void left by the Permian extinction. By the Middle Triassic, species like Cymbospondylus had already reached impressive sizes, growing up to 10 meters in length, becoming formidable predators in the recovering oceans. Later Triassic forms, such as Shonosaurus, grew even larger, becoming true giants of the Triassic seas. The study of ichthyosaur origins is a powerful testament to evolutionary convergence, where unrelated species evolve similar features due to similar environmental pressures. Despite being reptiles, ichthyosaurs evolved a body plan remarkably similar to that of modern dolphins and tuna, demonstrating the efficiency of this streamlined, powerful design for an open-ocean predatory lifestyle. Their rapid evolution and dominance in the Mesozoic oceans highlight their success in adapting to a world where the sea was indeed a realm of formidable predators. Following the catastrophic Permian-Triassic extinction event, which decimated marine life, the early and middle Triassic periods saw a remarkable recovery and diversification of aquatic reptiles. Among the earliest and most successful groups to return to the water were the Nothosaurs. Unlike later marine reptiles that became fully adapted to open ocean life, Nothosaurs maintained a more amphibious lifestyle, inhabiting shallow coastal waters, lagoons and estuaries. Their unique blend of aquatic and terrestrial features provides crucial insights into the transitional stages of reptiles returning to the sea. Nothosaurs first appeared in the early Triassic, approximately 250 million years ago, and thrived throughout the middle and late Triassic, before largely disappearing at the end of that period. Their fossils are found across a wide geographical range, including Europe, particularly Germany, the Middle East, and China, indicating their widespread distribution in the coastal areas of the newly forming Tethys Ocean. A typical Nothosaur possessed a long, slender body with a long neck and tail. Their most distinctive feature for aquatic locomotion was their paddle-like limbs. While these limbs were not as highly specialized as the flippers of later ichthyosaurs or plesiosaurs, they were clearly adapted for swimming. Each limb ended in 5 digits that were webbed, allowing them to propel themselves through water. Crucially, these limbs still retained enough flexibility and strength to allow the Nothosaur to move on land, albeit probably in a slow, sprawling gait, similar to that of modern seals or crocodiles. This ability to navigate both aquatic and terrestrial environments is the defining characteristic of their amphibious nature. Their long necks were another prominent feature, varying in length between different Nothosaur species. Some, like Nothosaurus mirabilis, had moderately long necks, while others, such as Cerisiasaurus, possessed exceptionally long ones. These necks would have been highly flexible, allowing them to quickly snap their heads to catch agile prey in the water. The skull and dentition of Nothosaurs were well suited for a predatory, fish-eating diet. Their skulls were typically long and flattened, with numerous sharp, pointed teeth. These teeth were often interdigitating, meaning they interlocked when the jaws closed, creating an effective trap for slippery fish. Some species also had long, needle-like teeth at the front of their jaws, further aiding in prey capture. This type of dentition is characteristic of piscivores, animals that primarily eat fish. Nothosaurs inhabited coastal waters, lagoons and estuaries, rather than the open ocean. These environments were typically shallow, warm and often brackish, with a mix of fresh and saltwater influences. They would have hunted in the rich nearshore ecosystems, preying on fish, cephalopods, and perhaps other small marine reptiles. Their amphibious nature would have allowed them to forage in the water and then bask on rocky shores or sandy beaches, similar to modern seals or crocodiles. This ability to leave the water would have been beneficial for thermoregulation, escaping larger marine predators, or even laying eggs on land, although direct evidence for their reproductive strategy is still debated. Some paleontologists suggest they may have laid eggs on land, while others propose they might have given birth to live young, a common adaptation for fully aquatic reptiles. One of the best-known Nothosaurs is Nothosaurus mirabilis, from which the group takes its name. Fossils of Nothosaurus have been found in abundance in the Muschelkalk Formation of Germany, a sedimentary unit that represents an ancient shallow sea. These finds provide detailed insights into their anatomy and lifestyle. Other notable Nothosaurs include Lariosaurus, a smaller, more robust form, and Pistosaurus, which is considered a transitional form, sharing features with both Nothosaurs and the more derived Plesiosaurs, hinting at the evolutionary lineage towards fully marine forms. The evolutionary path of Nothosaurs illustrates a key strategy for the return to aquatic life. They were successful because they exploited the abundant food resources of the shallow marine environment while still retaining the ability to use land. This transitional phase allowed them to adapt gradually to an aquatic existence. However, their reliance on coastal habitats eventually limited their reach and adaptability compared to later, fully marine reptiles. As the Mesozoic progressed, a new, more highly specialized marine predators like Plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs emerged. The Nothosaurs began to decline. By the end of the Triassic, most Nothosaur lineages had disappeared, making way for the dominant marine reptiles of the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. Their legacy, however, is crucial for understanding the evolutionary steps that led to the full conquest of the oceans by reptiles after the Permian Triassic extinction. They represent a successful, albeit temporary solution to living at the interface of land and sea in a world recovering from the greatest mass extinction event. Among the diverse array of marine reptiles that emerged and thrived in the Triassic period, Placodonts stand out for their highly specialized and unique feeding strategy. Unlike most marine predators that relied on sharp teeth for piercing or tearing flesh, Placodonts possessed broad, flattened teeth perfectly adapted for crushing the shells of mollusks and other hard-shelled invertebrates. This distinctive dentition gives them their name, which means flat tooth. Their existence highlights the rapid diversification of marine life after the devastating Permian Triassic extinction, as new niches were quickly filled. Placodonts first appeared in the early Triassic, approximately 250 million years ago, and persisted until the end of the Triassic, about 200 million years ago. Their fossils have been primarily found in coastal marine deposits across Europe, particularly in the Muschelkalk Formation of Germany, and also in parts of North Africa and China. This geographic distribution suggests that Placodonts, like Nothosaurs, were inhabitants of shallow, warm coastal waters, lagoons and reef environments where their shelled prey would have been abundant. The most striking anatomical feature of Placodonts was their dentition. They possessed two distinct sets of teeth. The front teeth, or incisors, were often peg-like and protruded forward, seemingly designed for plucking or scraping shelled organisms from rocky substrates or sea bottoms. However, the real power lay in their molar-like teeth located at the back of their jaws, and often also on their palates, the roof of the mouth. These teeth were remarkably broad, flat, and robust, forming an efficient crushing battery. The lower jaw muscles were powerfully developed, allowing for immense bite force necessary to break through tough shells. This specialized dentition is a clear indication of their durophagous diet, meaning they primarily fed on hard-shelled prey. Placodonts varied in their body forms, but broadly fell into two categories: unarmored and armored. The unarmored forms, such as Placodus, were more streamlined and resembled large, somewhat flattened lizards. They had robust paddle-like limbs, similar to Nothosaurs, which allowed them to swim effectively in their shallow water habitats. Their tails were moderately long and provided additional propulsion. The armored Placodonts, like Henodus and Placochlys, represent a more derived and highly specialized group. These forms developed extensive bony armor embedded in their skin, covering their backs and sometimes their undersides, creating a carapace similar to that of a turtle. Some species, like Cephiderma, were even completely encased in a mosaic of small polygonal scutes. This heavy armor would have provided significant protection against larger marine predators of the Triassic, such as early ichthyosaurs or Nothosaurs, but it also made them less agile swimmers. Henodus is particularly notable among armored Placodonts for its almost complete turtle-like shell and its highly modified jaws, which lacked teeth in the front and may have used a baleen-like structure or specialized plates for filter feeding or crushing very small prey. Their feeding strategy was unique. Placodonts would likely have patrolled the seafloor or rocky reefs, using their front teeth or specialized snouts to detach mollusks, such as bivalves and gastropods, brachiopods, or crustaceans from their attachment points. Once the prey was in their mouths, the powerful crushing teeth in the back would then pulverize the shells, allowing the Placodont to ingest the soft internal tissues. The prevalence of Placodont fossils in areas rich in shelled invertebrate remains supports this dietary hypothesis. The amphibious nature of Placodonts is also debated. While they clearly spent most of their lives in water, their limbs, though paddle-like, might have retained some capacity for movement on land, especially for basking, or, if necessary, for nesting. However, the heavily armoured forms would have been extremely clumsy on land due to their weight and rigid shells, suggesting they were more fully aquatic than their unarmoured relatives. The Placodonts represent a fascinating example of evolutionary specialization for a particular dietary niche. Their reliance on hard-shelled prey meant they played a crucial role in the Triassic marine food web, acting as specialized mollusk predators. However, their highly specialized adaptations may have contributed to their eventual decline. As the Triassic period drew to a close and environmental conditions changed, perhaps with shifts in mollusk populations or the emergence of new, more efficient predators, the Placodonts gradually disappeared. By the start of the Jurassic, this unique group of shell-crushing marine reptiles was largely extinct, leaving their ecological niche open for other forms of life. Their fossil record provides compelling evidence of the creative power of evolution in the wake of a mass extinction, rapidly filling newly available ecological roles in the recovering oceans. The Jurassic period, spanning from approximately 201 million to 145 million years ago, marked a pivotal era for marine life. Following the significant, though not as catastrophic extinction event at the end of the Triassic, the oceans became a vast arena for the spectacular diversification and growth of marine reptiles. These creatures, having returned to the water from land-dwelling ancestors, evolved into dominant predators that shaped the marine food webs of their time. It was during the Jurassic that these marine reptiles truly achieved unparalleled size and specialization, establishing a predatory dominion in the seas that, in many ways, rivaled the dinosaurs' reign on land. A key factor in this marine explosion was the ongoing breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea. As continents rifted apart, new ocean basins formed and expanded, creating vast stretches of shallow epicontinental seas and deeper oceanic environments. This provided abundant new habitats and opportunities for marine life to flourish. Global sea levels were generally higher than in the Triassic, leading to more extensive shallow seas that were particularly rich in invertebrate life, providing a strong food base for a diverse array of predators. The climate was generally warm and humid, contributing to productive marine ecosystems. The most prominent groups of marine reptiles to achieve dominance in the Jurassic were the ichthyosaurs and the Plesiosaurs. Both groups had originated in the Triassic, but it was in the Jurassic that they reached their peak in terms of size, diversity, and ecological importance. Ichthyosaurs became remarkably fish-like in their morphology, a prime example of convergent evolution, where unrelated species evolved similar forms to adapt to similar environments. Jurassic ichthyosaurs, like Stenopterygius and the colossal Temnodontosaurus, possessed highly streamlined, torpedo-shaped bodies, powerful crescent-shaped tails for propulsion, similar to modern tuna, and long, pointed snouts filled with numerous sharp teeth. Their eyes were often enormous, allowing them to hunt effectively in deeper or dimmer waters. These adaptations made them incredibly fast and agile swimmers, capable of pursuing and capturing fast-moving prey such as fish and cephalopods, ammonites and belemnites. The discovery of fossilized ichthyosaur embryos inside adult specimens confirmed that they were viviparous, giving birth to live young tail first, a crucial adaptation for a fully marine lifestyle, as it meant they never needed to return to land to lay eggs. This reproductive strategy freed them entirely from terrestrial constraints, allowing them to exploit open ocean environments more fully. Jurassic ichthyosaurs diversified into many forms, from smaller, agile hunters to enormous predators reaching lengths of 10 meters or more. The Plesiosaurs, a distinct group from ichthyosaurs, also underwent significant radiation in the Jurassic. They are broadly divided into two main body plans: the long-necked Plesiosaurs, Plesiosauridae, Elasmosauridae, and the short-necked, large-headed Pliosaurs, Pliosauridae. The long-necked Plesiosaurs were characterized by their famously elongated necks, broad bodies, and 4 large paddle-like limbs. These limbs were robust and likely used in a flying motion through the water, similar to sea turtles. Their long, flexible necks, which could contain dozens of vertebrae, allowed them to dart their heads rapidly to ambush fish or cephalopods from a distance, or perhaps to sweep through schools of prey. Jurassic examples like Plesiosaurus and Cryptoclydus were formidable predators, but their ecological role was different from the fast-pursuing ichthyosaurs. The Pliosaurs, conversely, were the true giants and apex predators among the Plesiosaurs. They possessed relatively short necks, massive crocodile-like heads, and immensely powerful jaws armed with large conical teeth. Their bodies were robust and muscular, built for raw power rather than agility. Jurassic pliosaurs, such as the famous Liopleurodon and Plesiosaurus, reached staggering sizes, with some estimates suggesting lengths of up to 15 meters or more. These colossal predators were at the very top of the Jurassic marine food chain, capable of preying on almost any other marine creature, including other marine reptiles, large fish, and even sharks. Their powerful bite and large size allowed them to ambush and subdue large, struggling prey. Evidence for their diet comes from fossil gut contents and bite marks found on the bones of other marine animals. Other significant marine groups also thrived. Early crocodilomorphs, ancestors of modern crocodiles, diversified into fully marine forms, thalattosuchians, during the Jurassic. These included agile, dolphin-like forms like Metriorhynchus, which had flippers instead of legs and a tail fluke. These marine crocs also filled predatory niches, hunting fish and smaller marine animals in coastal and open ocean environments. The Jurassic oceans were also teeming with sharks and bony fish, which continued their evolutionary paths, providing abundant prey for the marine reptiles. Large bony fish like Leedsichthys grew to immense sizes, becoming filter feeders, and themselves became targets for the largest pliosaurs. Cephalopods, including the highly diverse and abundant ammonites and belemnites, formed a critical part of the marine food web, serving as a primary food source for many marine reptiles. Plesiosaurs were a distinct and formidable group of marine reptiles that thrived during the Jurassic and early Cretaceous periods, ranging from approximately 200 million to 90 million years ago. They belonged to the order Plesiosauria, but unlike their long-necked relatives, the true plesiosaurs, plesiosaurs were characterized by their remarkably short necks, massive crocodile-like heads, and immensely powerful jaws. These adaptations made them the apex predators of the Mesozoic seas, perfectly built for ambushing and tearing apart large prey. Their evolution represents a prime example of convergent evolution, where unrelated lineages develop similar body plans to fill similar ecological niches, in this case, that of a large marine macropredator. The body plan of a pliosaur was uniquely adapted for power and speed in short bursts. Their bodies were typically stocky and robust, propelled by 4 large paddle-like flippers. These flippers were not just for steering, they were the primary means of propulsion, moving in a powerful up and down motion, similar to the flight of a bird in water. This hydrofoil locomotion allowed them to achieve considerable speeds for sudden attacks. The tail, while present, was relatively short and likely played a minor role in propulsion, primarily used for steering and stability. The overall impression was one of immense musculature concentrated around the head and flippers, indicating a highly specialized killing machine. Their most striking feature was their skull. Plesiosaur skulls were enormous, often accounting for up to 1/4 of their total body length. For a pliosaur reaching 10 or 12 meters in length, its skull could be 2 to 3 meters long. These massive heads housed powerful jaw muscles, which attached to a deep, robust lower jaw and a wide, strongly built skull roof. The jaws were lined with numerous large, conical and often serrated teeth. These teeth were designed for gripping and tearing flesh, rather than simply piercing or crushing. The arrangement of teeth allowed for a formidable bite force, capable of crushing bone and dismembering large prey. The snout was typically elongated, giving them a crocodile-like appearance, which would have aided in snapping up fast-moving targets. Plesiosaurs occupied the top of the marine food web. Their diet consisted of large marine animals, including fish, sharks, and other marine reptiles. Evidence for their diet comes from various sources. Fossilized stomach contents, though rare, sometimes contained fish scales, bone fragments of other reptiles, and even cephalopod beaks. Tooth marks found on the bones of contemporary marine reptiles such as ichthyosaurs and long-necked plesiosaurs also provide direct evidence of pliosaur predation. Their powerful bite and tooth morphology suggest they were active hunters, ambushing and overpowering their victims rather than scavenging or pursuing them over long distances. The short neck, while limiting flexibility compared to plesiosaurs, would have reduced drag, making the head a more stable platform for a sudden explosive bite. The largest pliosaurs could reach lengths of 15 meters or more, making them among the largest predators in Earth's history. These super predators would have patrolled the epicontinental seas that covered parts of the continents during the Jurassic and Cretaceous, as well as the deeper waters of the open ocean. Their fossil remains have been found across the globe, indicating a widespread distribution. Important fossil discoveries have been made in England, Russia, Australia, and Arctic Norway, highlighting their global dominance. The evolution of pliosaurs involved a series of adaptive changes from their more primitive plesiosaurian ancestors. Early plesiosaur forms had more generalized body plans. As the Mesozoic advanced, certain lineages became more specialized for macropredation, leading to the development of the short-necked, large-headed pliosaur morphology. This specialization was likely driven by the abundance of large prey animals, such as ichthyosaurs and diverse fish populations, providing a rich ecological niche for such powerful hunters. The success of plesiosaurs demonstrates a strong evolutionary trend towards hypercarnivory in the marine realm. The decline of plesiosaurs began in the mid-Cretaceous, with many of the supersized forms disappearing by the late Cretaceous. This decline coincided with the rise of a new group of formidable marine predators, the mosasaurs. Mosasaurs, which were giant marine lizards, began to dominate the late Cretaceous oceans, eventually replacing pliosaurs and other marine reptile groups as the apex predators. While the exact reasons for the plesiosaur decline are still debated, it is likely a combination of factors, including climate change, changes in ocean chemistry, and intense competition from the rapidly evolving mosasaurs, which may have been more agile or had different hunting strategies. Despite their eventual demise, plesiosaurs left an incredible legacy as some of the most fearsome and powerful predators to have ever swum the Earth's oceans. Their massive skulls and immense power continue to fascinate scientists and the public, serving as a testament to the deadly nature of prehistoric marine life. Among the pantheon of prehistoric marine predators, Liopleurodon stands out as one of the most iconic and frequently sensationalized. A colossal pliosaur from the middle to late Jurassic period, roughly 166 to 155 million years ago, Liopleurodon was an apex predator that terrorized the ancient seas. Its immense size, combined with a truly formidable bite, placed it at the absolute top of the marine food chain during its reign. The name Liopleurodon means smooth-sided tooth, a reference to the smooth enamel on its teeth, contrasting with the more commonly ridged teeth of other marine reptiles. Fossil evidence for Liopleurodon primarily comes from Europe, particularly England and France, which were submerged under shallow epicontinental seas during the Jurassic. The first fossils were discovered in the mid-19th century, though our understanding of its true size and power has evolved significantly over time. Liopleurodon exhibited the classic Pliosaur body plan, a short, robust neck supporting an extraordinarily large head, a barrel-shaped body, and 4 massive paddle-like flippers. It was a macro-predator, meaning it hunted large animals. Its skull alone could measure up to 1/4 of its total body length. While early popular estimates, particularly in media, exaggerated its size to 25 meters or even more, current scientific consensus, based on more complete skeletal remains and detailed analysis, estimates Liopleurodon to have reached lengths of between 6 and 7 meters for most species. However, some larger fragmentary remains suggest certain species, like Liopleurodon ferox, could have reached up to 10 meters in length, with the largest estimates pushing towards 11 or even 13 meters based on isolated skull fragments. Even at 7 to 10 meters, Liopleurodon was an immense predator, comparable in length to a large modern killer whale but far more robustly built. The most striking feature of Liopleurodon was its enormous skull and powerful jaws. A typical adult Liopleurodon skull could be 1.5 to 2 meters long, armed with rows of large, pointed, conical teeth. These teeth were adapted for piercing and holding large prey, indicating a diet of fish, ammonites, large-shelled cephalopods, and other marine reptiles, including ichthyosaurs and even smaller plesiosaurs. The structure of its skull, with deep jaw muscles and strong bone connections, points to an incredibly powerful bite force. While no direct bite force measurements exist for Liopleurodon, comparative studies with modern powerful biters like crocodiles suggest it would have been among the strongest bites of any animal capable of crushing bone and tearing through tough flesh. Liopleurodon was an ambush predator. Its powerful flippers allowed for rapid acceleration and sudden bursts of speed over short distances, ideal for surprising unsuspecting prey. It likely patrolled the mid-water column or lurked near the seafloor, using its excellent sense of smell or vibration detection to locate victims. Once a target was acquired, Liopleurodon would launch a lightning-fast attack, overpowering its prey with its massive jaws and sheer bulk. Its robust body and large flippers would also have made it an effective grappler, able to subdue struggling victims. The environment Liopleurodon inhabited was a warm, shallow, and highly productive epicontinental sea. These seas covered much of what is now Europe during the Jurassic. Abundant marine life, including vast schools of fish, diverse ammonite populations, and other marine reptiles like ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, provided a rich feeding ground for this giant predator. The ecosystem was a dynamic one, with a constant interplay between predators and prey, all contributing to the intense selective pressures that drove the evolution of such specialized hunters. The fossil record of Liopleurodon provides crucial insights into its biology. Vertebrae indicate its heavy, muscular body. The structure of its flippers, with multiple bones in each digit and robust musculature, reveals its powerful underwater flight. Some fossil sites have yielded multiple specimens, allowing for comparisons and a better understanding of individual variation and growth stages. While complete skeletons of the largest individuals are rare, ongoing discoveries and re-evaluations of existing fossils continue to refine our understanding of this magnificent predator. The scientific understanding of Liopleurodon's size has become more conservative than popular portrayals. This is a common trend in paleontology, where initial estimates based on fragmentary remains are often refined as more complete data becomes available. However, even with the revised size estimates, Liopleurodon remains one of the most formidable marine predators of all time, a true giant of the Jurassic seas, whose power and hunting prowess made it a terror to almost everything that swam alongside it. Its reign as an apex predator highlights a period when the oceans were indeed home to some of the deadliest creatures on Earth. Plesiosaurs represent one of the most iconic and enduring groups of marine reptiles of the Mesozoic era, thriving from the late Triassic through the entire Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, approximately 220 million to 66 million years ago. While the term Plesiosaur is sometimes broadly used to refer to both long-necked forms and their short-necked relatives, the Pleiosaurs, the true Plesiosaurs, are distinguished by their remarkably elongated necks, relatively small heads, and 4 large paddle-like flippers. Their unique body plan allowed them to exploit diverse ecological niches in the ancient oceans, primarily as hunters of fish and smaller marine reptiles. The most defining feature of a plesiosaur was its exceptionally long neck. Depending on the species, the neck could comprise more than half of the animal's total body length and contained an impressive number of vertebrae, ranging from around 30 up to 76 in the most extreme cases, such as Elasmosaurus. For comparison, most mammals, including humans, have only 7 neck vertebrae. The flexibility of these long necks varied considerably between species. Early interpretations often depicted them as highly flexible, like a swan's neck, capable of snaking through water to catch fish. However, more recent studies suggest that while the neck could bend significantly, it was likely less flexible vertically than horizontally. The dense arrangement of vertebrae and overlapping ribs might have restricted extreme vertical bending, but allowed for significant lateral movement. The rest of the plesiosaur body was relatively compact and stout, propelled by 4 powerful flippers. These flippers were not just for steering, they were the primary means of propulsion through water. Plesiosaurs used a unique form of underwater flight, moving all 4 paddles in a coordinated, powerful up and down motion, similar to the wings of a sea turtle or penguin. This hydrofoil propulsion allowed for efficient movement through the water, capable of both steady cruising and bursts of speed for hunting. The tail was short and likely played a minimal role in propulsion, primarily functioning as a rudder for steering and stability. Their heads were relatively small compared to their body size, especially when contrasted with their pliosaur cousins. The jaws were typically lined with numerous slender, sharp, conical teeth. These teeth were ideal for grasping and holding slippery prey like fish and cephalopods. The mouth acted like a fish trap, quickly snapping shut on prey. They were not designed for tearing large chunks of flesh like the robust teeth of pliosaurs, but rather for quick, precise strikes. Plesiosaurs occupied various predatory niches within the marine ecosystem. Their long necks allowed them to be ambush predators of a unique kind. Instead of charging head-on, they could potentially approach a school of fish or a smaller marine reptile, keeping their large body at a distance to avoid detection, and then rapidly strike with their long neck and head. This reach out and grab strategy would have been highly effective in surprising prey. The flexibility of the neck would have enabled them to quickly change the direction of their head to pursue agile fish. Some paleontologists also suggest a bottom-feeding strategy, where plesiosaurs might have plunged their heads into murky seafloor sediments to snatch invertebrates. Fossil evidence for plesiosaurs is abundant and geographically widespread, found in marine sedimentary rocks across all continents, including Antarctica. This widespread distribution indicates their success in colonizing a variety of marine environments, from shallow epicontinental seas to deeper oceanic waters. Famous discoveries have been made in England, North America, particularly the Western Interior Seaway region, Australia and Russia. Complete skeletons have provided detailed anatomical information, allowing scientists to reconstruct their musculature, posture and potential movement. One of the most extreme examples of a long-necked plesiosaur is Elasmosaurus, from the late Cretaceous of North America. Elasmosaurus had an astounding 76 cervical neck vertebrae, giving it a neck length that constituted more than half of its total length of 13 to 14 meters. Its small head and exceptionally long neck are clear indicators of a specialized feeding strategy, likely focused on darting fish. Other notable long-necked plesiosaurs include Cretoxyrhina from the Jurassic, with a moderately long neck and flexible flippers, and Rhenanosaurus, also from the Jurassic, known for its very long body. The evolutionary history of plesiosaurs shows a remarkable adaptive radiation. They emerged shortly after the Permian Triassic extinction event, evolving from earlier, more generalized sauropterygians. Throughout the Jurassic and Cretaceous, they diversified into a wide array of forms, occupying various ecological roles. However, like all other non-avian dinosaurs and many other marine reptile groups, plesiosaurs ultimately went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous period, approximately 66 million years ago, as part of the KPG extinction event, which was likely caused by a large asteroid impact. Despite their eventual demise, their unique body plan and long reign as successful marine predators make them a fascinating chapter in the story of prehistoric ocean life. Their adaptation to life in the water, propelled by 4 powerful flippers and striking with a long, flexible neck, made them formidable hunters in the ancient seas. The Jurassic period, spanning from approximately 201 million to 145 million years ago, represented the zenith for ichthyosaurs, a group of marine reptiles uniquely adapted to life in the open ocean. Having first appeared in the Triassic period, these creatures underwent a remarkable evolutionary radiation during the Jurassic, achieving their peak diversity and specialization. Their dolphin-like bodies, enormous eyes, and powerful tails made them highly efficient predators of the Mesozoic seas, filling an ecological niche similar to that of modern tunas or dolphins. The most striking feature of Jurassic ichthyosaurs was their highly streamlined fusiform body shape, a classic example of convergent evolution with modern dolphins and fish. This torpedo-like form minimized drag in the water, allowing for swift, agile movement. Their limbs had evolved into paddle-like flippers, primarily used for steering and stabilization rather than propulsion. Propulsion was achieved by powerful crescent-shaped tail fins, similar to those of sharks or tuna, which provided immense thrust through side-to-side undulations. The tail fin itself was supported by a downward bend in the vertebral column, a unique adaptation not seen in other marine reptiles. Some larger Jurassic ichthyosaurs also possessed a dorsal fin, which further enhanced their stability in open water, preventing unwanted rolling. This combination of features made them incredibly fast swimmers, capable of sustained pursuit of prey. One of the most remarkable adaptations of Jurassic ichthyosaurs was their eyes. Many species, particularly the large open-ocean forms, possessed exceptionally large eyes. These eyes were often supported by a ring of overlapping bony plates called a sclerotic ring, which helped maintain the eyeball's shape against the immense pressure of deep water. The sheer size of their eyes suggests that they were visually oriented hunters, capable of seeing in dim light conditions, perhaps even diving to considerable depths to hunt prey like squid and fish. For instance, Ophthalmosaurus, meaning eye lizard, is a prime example, named for its massive eyes, which could reach up to 22 centimeters in diameter. Such large eyes would have been advantageous for hunting in poorly lit environments, such as during twilight hours or at depths where sunlight penetrates weakly. The diet of Jurassic ichthyosaurs primarily consisted of fish and cephalopods, particularly belemnites, ancient squid-like creatures with internal shells, and ammonites. Their jaws were long and slender, often lined with numerous small, sharp, conical teeth, perfectly suited for grasping slippery prey. Some larger species might have also preyed on smaller marine reptiles. Evidence for their diet comes from fossilized stomach contents, gastric pellets or regurgitated material, and the presence of beaks from cephalopods within their rib cages. The specialization of their dentition suggests diverse feeding strategies. Some ichthyosaurs had more robust teeth for crunching shells, while others had finer teeth for gripping soft-bodied prey. Jurassic ichthyosaurs exhibited considerable diversity in size and form. While some were relatively small, measuring only a few meters long, others grew to impressive lengths. Temnodontosaurus, one of the largest Jurassic ichthyosaurs, could reach lengths of up to 12 meters, possessing a robust skull and powerful jaws capable of preying on other large marine animals. Ichthyosaurus itself, a common and well-studied genus from the early Jurassic, typically ranged from 2 to 4 meters in length. Their global distribution is evidenced by fossil finds from various continents, including Europe, especially the United Kingdom and Germany, North America, South America, and Asia. Beyond their physical adaptations, Jurassic ichthyosaurs also displayed fascinating reproductive strategies. Unlike most reptiles that lay eggs on land, ichthyosaurs were viviparous, meaning they gave birth to live young in the water. This adaptation was crucial for their fully aquatic lifestyle, as they were unable to return to land. Fossil evidence of ichthyosaurs with embryos preserved inside their bodies, or even specimens caught in the act of giving birth, provide conclusive proof of this viviparity. The young were typically born tail first, a strategy seen in modern whales and dolphins, which prevents drowning during birth. This live-bearing capability further solidified their independence from land, allowing them to exploit the vast resources of the open ocean. Their dominance in the Jurassic seas was significant. Ichthyosaurs filled the role of fast pursuit predators, efficiently hunting in the pelagic, open ocean zone. They coexisted with other marine reptile groups such as the long-necked Plesiosaurs and the short-necked Plesiosaurs, each occupying distinct ecological niches. While Plesiosaurs might have been more ambush predators, or slower, wide-ranging hunters, and Pliosaurs were powerful macropredators, ichthyosaurs were specialists in speed and agility. However, despite their success, ichthyosaurs experienced a decline towards the end of the Jurassic period, particularly as other groups of marine reptiles such as plesiosaurs and the newly emerging mosasaurs began to diversify and compete for resources. The exact reasons for their eventual decline and extinction in the mid-Cretaceous are still debated, but changes in ocean conditions, increased competition from other marine predators, or even shifts in prey availability are all possibilities. Nevertheless, their long reign during the Jurassic highlights them as one of the most perfectly adapted and specialised groups of marine reptiles to ever exist. Masters of the open ocean long before the age of modern whales and sharks. The Cretaceous period, spanning from approximately 145 million to 66 million years ago, represents a pinnacle of marine reptile diversity and the emergence of some of the most specialised and fearsome predators the oceans have ever seen. As the supercontinent Pangaea continued to fragment, new oceans formed and expanded, creating vast, shallow seas and diverse marine environments that teemed with life. This era saw the continued presence of plesiosaurs, the final decline of ichthyosaurs, and the dramatic rise of a new group of dominant marine lizards, the mosasaurs. During the early Cretaceous, ichthyosaurs were still present, but their diversity began to wane. Species like Platypterygius, a large ichthyosaur from this period, showed adaptations for life in a changing ocean. However, by the mid-Cretaceous, around 90 million years ago, ichthyosaurs had largely disappeared from the fossil record, marking the end of their long evolutionary journey. The exact reasons for their extinction are still debated, but increased competition from rapidly evolving sharks and the rise of other marine reptile groups like mosasaurs likely played a significant role. In contrast to the declining ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs continued to thrive and diversify throughout the Cretaceous. This group of marine reptiles is characterized by their four large paddle-like limbs, which they used for propulsion in a unique underwater flight motion. They are typically divided into two main body plans, the long-necked forms and the short-necked forms. The long-necked plesiosaurs, often referred to as elasmosaurids, reached their most extreme forms in the Cretaceous. Elasmosaurus itself, for example, possessed an astonishingly long neck, comprising 76 vertebrae, extending up to 9 meters in length. Their bodies were relatively compact and their tails were short. The function of such an elongated neck has been a subject of much debate. It is believed that they used their necks to dart their heads into schools of fish from a distance, or perhaps to ambush prey from below without moving their large bodies and scaring away their targets. Their numerous small, sharp teeth were ideal for snatching slippery fish and cephalopods. The short-necked plesiosaurs, or pliosaurs, though more prominent in the Jurassic, still had significant representatives in the early Cretaceous, such as Kronosaurus. These were massive, powerfully built predators with enormous skulls, often accounting for a quarter of their total body length. Their jaws were armed with formidable conical teeth, designed for crushing and tearing large prey. Kronosaurus, reaching up to 10 meters in length, was a top predator capable of hunting other marine reptiles, large fish, and even sharks. Their powerful flippers provided burst speed for ambushing prey in open water. However, the true titans of the Cretaceous oceans were the mosasaurs. These marine lizards evolved from semi-aquatic ancestors and diversified explosively during the late Cretaceous, becoming the dominant apex predators after the mid-Cretaceous decline of pliosaurs and the complete disappearance of ichthyosaurs. Mosasaurs had streamlined bodies, powerful tails for propulsion, and 4 paddle-like limbs for steering. Their most distinctive features were their enormous elongated skulls and powerful hinged jaws lined with sharp, recurved teeth, designed for gripping and shearing flesh. Some species even had teeth on the roofs of their mouths, pterygoid teeth, which helped them secure struggling prey. Mosasaur diversity was astounding, with species ranging from smaller, more agile hunters to colossal leviathans. Tylosaurus, one of the largest mosasaurs, could reach lengths of up to 15 meters. Its long, slender body and powerful tail made it a swift swimmer, capable of pursuing fast-moving prey, Tylosaurus possessed a blunt, bony snout extension, a ram, at the front of its skull, which some paleontologists believe was used to ram or stun prey. Its diet was broad, including large fish, sharks, other marine reptiles, including smaller mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, and even diving birds. Another fearsome mosasaur was Prognathodon, a more robustly built predator with strong conical teeth suited for crushing shells and bones, suggesting a diet that included ammonites and perhaps even turtles. Mosasaurus itself, the genus after which the group is named, was also a formidable predator, ranging in size and possessing powerful jaws adapted for various prey types. The fossil record of mosasaurs is global, found in ancient marine sediments across North America, Europe, Africa and Asia, testifying to their widespread dominance. Beyond the iconic marine reptiles, the Cretaceous oceans were also home to other significant creatures. Giant sea turtles, such as Archelon, which could reach lengths of over 4 meters and weigh thousands of kilograms, cruised the open waters, likely feeding on jellyfish and soft-bodied invertebrates. These enormous turtles represent the largest turtles to ever live. Sharks also continued their evolutionary success in the Cretaceous. Cretoxyrhina, often dubbed the Ginsu shark due to its remarkably sharp serrated teeth, was a formidable predator reaching lengths of up to 7 meters. It preyed on large fish, ammonites, and even juvenile marine reptiles, cementing its place in the middle of the marine food web. It represented an early form of the highly successful lamniform shark lineage that includes modern great white sharks. The Cretaceous oceans were dynamic, perilous environments where the struggle for survival played out on a grand scale. The evolution of new body plans, specialized feeding strategies, and immense sizes among marine reptiles and sharks created a complex and highly competitive ecosystem, truly making the oceans of this period deadlier than the land for many creatures. Their reign continued until the very end of the Cretaceous, when the asteroid impact event brought an abrupt end to the era of these formidable marine beasts. The rise of the mosasaurs during the late Cretaceous period marks a pivotal shift in the dominance of marine predators. These were not dinosaurs, but a distinct group of marine lizards, distant relatives of modern snakes and monitor lizards. Their rapid evolution and diversification, which began around 98 million years ago and reached its peak in the final 20 million years of the Cretaceous, positioned them as the new apex predators of the world's oceans, filling ecological niches left vacant by the decline of other marine reptile groups. Mosasaur evolution was incredibly swift. Their ancestors were small, semi-aquatic lizards, likely living in coastal areas or freshwater environments. Over a geologically short period, these early forms underwent remarkable adaptations for a fully marine lifestyle. Their bodies became elongated and streamlined, perfect for moving through water. Their limbs transformed into paddle-like flippers, primarily used for steering and stabilization, while their powerful, laterally flattened tails became the main source of propulsion, moving in a side-to-side motion similar to that of modern crocodiles or sea snakes. Unlike ichthyosaurs, which had vertical tail flukes, mosasaurs had horizontal tail flukes similar to whales. Their skulls became elongated and more robust, with powerful jaws designed for capturing and dispatching large prey. One of the most defining characteristics of mosasaurs was their jaw structure and dentition. Their jaws were highly flexible, equipped with a unique intramandibular joint, a hinge within the lower jaw that allowed them to open their mouths incredibly wide, enabling them to swallow large prey whole. Their teeth were typically sharp, conical and recurved, meaning they curved backward, which was perfect for gripping slippery fish or the tough hides of other marine reptiles. Some mosasaur species also possessed pterygoid teeth on the roof of their mouths, which served to pull prey further down the throat, preventing escape. This combination of powerful, flexible jaws and formidable teeth made them incredibly efficient and versatile predators. The diversity of mosasaurs was immense, with species adapting to various ecological niches. Some were relatively small, perhaps 3 to 5 meters long, feeding on fish and small invertebrates. Others grew to colossal sizes, becoming the undisputed kings of the Cretaceous seas. Tylosaurus, a prime example, could reach lengths exceeding 15 meters, making it one of the largest predators of its time. Its long, slender body and powerful tail suggest it was a fast pursuer, capable of ambushing and overpowering large prey. The distinctive blunt snout on Tylosaurus has led some paleontologists to theorize it was used for ramming prey or opponents. Mosasaurus, the genus that gives the group its name, was another dominant predator, also reaching impressive sizes. Different species of Mosasaurus exhibited variations in skull shape and tooth morphology, suggesting a range of dietary preferences. Some had more robust crushing teeth, while others had sharper cutting teeth. Prognathodon was a mosasaur with particularly heavy, crushing teeth, indicative of a diet that included shelled creatures like ammonites, belemnites, and possibly even large sea turtles. The mosasaur's success was also tied to their global distribution. Their fossils have been found in marine sedimentary rocks across virtually every continent, including North America, especially in the Western Interior Seaway, which covered much of central North America during the late Cretaceous, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, and Antarctica. This widespread presence underscores their adaptive capacity and their ability to thrive in diverse oceanic environments, from shallow coastal waters to deeper offshore regions. Their rise to dominance coincided with the decline of other major marine predator groups. Ichthyosaurs, which had been the dominant fish-shaped reptiles of the Jurassic, gradually disappeared by the mid-Cretaceous. While Pliosaurs, short-necked Plesiosaurs, were still significant predators in the early Cretaceous, their numbers also dwindled, allowing mosasaurs to occupy the apex predator role. Mosasaurs became the top predators in most marine ecosystems, preying on everything from fish and sharks to cephalopods, ammonites and belemnites, sea turtles, diving birds, and even other marine reptiles, including smaller plesiosaurs and juvenile mosasaurs. Evidence for their diet comes from fossilized stomach contents, bite marks on the bones of prey animals, and the physical characteristics of their teeth. Like ichthyosaurs, mosasaurs were viviparous, giving birth to live young in the water. This freed them entirely from the need to return to land for reproduction, enabling them to inhabit vast stretches of the open ocean. While direct fossil evidence of mosasaur birth is rare, the skeletal structure of adult mosasaurs, with their rigid pelvises and lack of adaptations for terrestrial movement, strongly supports live birth. The reign of the mosasaurs was relatively brief but intensely successful. They dominated the late Cretaceous oceans for approximately 25 million years. Their story, however, came to an abrupt end with a catastrophic asteroid impact at the end of the Cretaceous period, around 66 million years ago. This global event, which caused widespread environmental collapse, also led to the mass extinction of mosasaurs, along with dinosaurs and many other life forms. Their rapid rise and sudden disappearance encapsulate a fascinating chapter in the history of prehistoric marine life, highlighting their exceptional adaptations and their transient but absolute rule as the deadliest hunters of the Cretaceous seas. Among the myriad of formidable predators that dominated the late Cretaceous seas, Tylosaurus stood out as one of the largest and most aggressive mosasaurs. These marine lizards were the undisputed apex predators in many parts of the world's oceans, filling the ecological niche previously occupied by ichthyosaurs and pliosaurs. Tylosaurus lived from approximately 88 million to 80 million years ago, a relatively short but incredibly impactful reign during the latter part of the Mesozoic era. Its fossils are predominantly found in the Western Interior Seaway, a vast shallow sea that split North America during much of the late Cretaceous, as well as in Europe and New Zealand, indicating a widespread distribution. Tylosaurus belonged to the mosasaur family, a group of marine reptiles that evolved from terrestrial lizards, likely small semi-aquatic forms that returned to the water around 95 million years ago. Over a span of about 30 million years, mosasaurs diversified rapidly and grew to enormous sizes, developing highly specialized adaptations for a fully marine existence. Tylosaurus represents the pinnacle of this evolutionary trajectory in terms of sheer size and predatory prowess. The most striking feature of Tylosaurus was its immense size. Adults could reach lengths of up to 15 meters, making it one of the largest mosasaurs, rivaling or even exceeding the size of other giant marine predators of its time. Its elongated, serpentine body was well suited for powerful swimming, ending in a large, crescent-shaped tail fluke, similar to that of a shark or ichthyosaur, which provided propulsion. The four paddle-like limbs, evolved from the legs of its terrestrial ancestors, were used primarily for steering and stability. The skull of Tylosaurus was particularly robust and elongated, reaching lengths of up to 1.5 meters in large individuals. The powerful jaws of Tylosaurus were a key to its success as an apex predator. They were armed with rows of conical sharp teeth designed for seizing and holding slippery prey. Unlike some other mosasaurs that had more blade-like or crushing teeth, Tylosaurus's teeth were ideally suited for puncturing and gripping, indicating a diet of mobile, often large, animals. The jaws were also highly kinetic, meaning they could articulate at multiple points, allowing for a wide gape. Furthermore, like snakes, mosasaurs possessed an intramandibular joint in the middle of the lower jaw, which allowed the two halves of the jaw to flex outwards. This flexibility, combined with highly mobile skull bones, enabled Tylosaurus to swallow very large prey whole or to manipulate struggling victims. Some fossil evidence suggests that Tylosaurus could dislocate its jaws to engulf enormous food items. The snout of Tylosaurus was distinctive, featuring a blunt, bony projection at the tip, often referred to as a tylos, from which its name is derived, meaning knob lizard. The exact function of this bony extension is still debated among paleontologists. Some theories suggest it may have been used for ramming prey, stunning them before capture. Others propose it might have been used in intraspecific combat, perhaps for territorial disputes or mating rituals, or even as a digging tool to probe for prey in soft sediment. The robust construction of the snout indicates it could withstand significant impact, regardless of its precise use. The diverse diet of Tylosaurus is well documented through fossil evidence, including stomach contents and bite marks found on the bones of other marine animals. Its diet was remarkably varied, cementing its position at the top of the food chain. Fish formed a substantial part of its diet, from smaller, schooling fish to larger solitary swimmers. The sharp, conical teeth were perfect for grasping these slippery prey items. Evidence also suggests they preyed on sharks. While sharks themselves were formidable predators, Tylosaurus was capable of attacking and consuming them, indicating its immense power. Bite marks found on the vertebrae of Cretaceous sharks are sometimes attributed to mosasaurs like Tylosaurus. Beyond fish and sharks, Tylosaurus frequently preyed on other marine reptiles. This included smaller mosasaur species, demonstrating interspecies predation within their own group. Fossil evidence includes Tylosaurus stomach contents containing the bones of smaller mosasaurs. They also hunted Plesiosaurs, the long-necked and short-necked marine reptiles that shared the late Cretaceous seas. The remains of Plesiosaurs, including their distinct vertebral columns, have been found in association with Tylosaurus skeletons, sometimes within their gut regions. This indicates that even these large marine reptiles were not safe from the predatory might of Tylosaurus. Furthermore, Tylosaurus was known to prey on seabirds, specifically the flightless diving bird Hesperornis. The bones of Hesperornis have been discovered within the stomach contents of Tylosaurus specimens, providing direct evidence of this predatory relationship. This highlights the opportunistic nature of Tylosaurus, indicating it would consume whatever large prey was available in its marine environment. Some evidence even suggests it might have preyed on ammonites and other cephalopods, though its teeth were not specialized for crushing shells. Perhaps it attacked larger, soft-bodied forms. The sheer size and powerful build of Tylosaurus made it an incredibly formidable hunter, capable of overcoming a wide range of prey. Its long, muscular body allowed for rapid bursts of speed and agility in water, crucial for pursuing active prey. Its excellent vision and potentially good sense of smell would have aided in locating food in the vast expanse of the open ocean. The reign of Tylosaurus as a king of the Cretaceous seas lasted until the very end of the Mesozoic era, when the asteroid impact 66 million years ago led to the extinction of all mosasaurs, along with the dinosaurs and many other forms of life. Its existence serves as a powerful reminder of the incredible predatory power that once dominated Earth's ancient oceans. Elasmosaurus, a majestic and enigmatic marine reptile from the late Cretaceous period, is perhaps best known for one of the most extreme anatomical features in vertebrate history: its incredibly elongated neck. Living approximately 80 million years ago, Elasmosaurus belonged to the Plesiosaur group, a diverse lineage of marine reptiles characterized by their four large, paddle-like flippers and generally long necks or short necks with massive heads. Elasmosaurus represents the pinnacle of a long-necked plesiosaur evolution, with a neck that often comprised more than half of its total body length. The typical adult Elasmosaurus measured up to 14 meters long from the tip of its snout to the end of its tail. Of this impressive length, its neck alone could account for more than 7 meters. This extraordinary neck was composed of an astonishing number of vertebrae, ranging from 71 to 76 in different specimens. To put this in perspective, most mammals, including giraffes, have only 7 neck vertebrae. Even other long-necked plesiosaurs typically had far fewer, around 30 to 60 vertebrae. This high vertebral count made the Elasmosaurus neck exceptionally flexible, though not as universally bendable as often depicted in popular culture. The structure of the Elasmosaurus neck was a marvel of biological engineering. While long, the individual vertebrae were relatively short and tightly articulated, allowing for lateral, side-to-side and dorso-ventral, up and down movement. However, the exact range of motion is still debated. Early reconstructions often depicted Elasmosaurus holding its neck high out of the water like a swan, but modern biomechanical studies suggest this would have been physically impossible, or at least extremely energy inefficient. The neck was heavily muscled and would have been very heavy, making it difficult to hold upright against gravity. Instead, current scientific consensus indicates that the neck was primarily held in a relatively straight line with the body, or with a gentle curve, moving predominantly underwater. The extreme length and flexibility of the Elasmosaurus neck were direct adaptations to its unique hunting method for schooling fish. Unlike the short-necked, large-headed Pliosaurs that were likely ambush predators of large prey, Elasmosaurus was perfectly designed for stealthy pursuit and capture of smaller, agile prey. Imagine a large body remaining mostly still, or moving slowly, while the long serpentine neck darted out to snatch fish. This strategy, sometimes referred to as snatch feeding or ambush predation from a distance, offered several advantages. First, the large body of Elasmosaurus could be kept far from the fish school, minimizing the disturbance that might alert prey. A large body moving rapidly through water creates a significant pressure wave which fish can detect. By extending only its neck and relatively small head into the school, Elasmosaurus could approach its prey with minimal disruption. The long neck allowed it to reach into the densest parts of a fish school without having to move its entire massive body. Second, the head of Elasmosaurus was relatively small and hydrodynamic, minimizing drag as it moved through the water. Its jaws were lined with numerous long, slender, interlocking teeth. These teeth were perfectly adapted for grasping slippery fish, preventing them from escaping once caught. They were not designed for tearing or crushing, further supporting a diet primarily of fish, and perhaps squid or belemnites. Third, the speed and precision with which Elasmosaurus could snap its neck would have been remarkable. The powerful muscles associated with its cervical neck vertebrae would have allowed for rapid, whip-like strikes catching fast-moving prey. The eyes, positioned on the sides of its head, would have provided a wide field of view to track schools of fish. Some theories suggest that Elasmosaurus might have used its long neck to sweep through a school, creating disarray or corralling fish, making them easier to catch. Fossil evidence supports this fish-eating diet. Stomach contents found with Elasmosaurus skeletons often contain otoliths, fish ear bones, fish scales, and the remnants of belemnites, ancient squid-like cephalopods. The skeletal structure of its neck, with its numerous vertebrae and powerful muscle attachment points, is consistent with the rapid, forceful movements required for this type of feeding. Elasmosaurus inhabited the shallow epicontinental seas of the late Cretaceous, particularly the western interior seaway of North America, where abundant fish populations would have provided ample sustenance. Its long neck, while unique, was a highly specialized adaptation that allowed it to exploit a particular ecological niche within a crowded marine environment. Despite its formidable appearance, Elasmosaurus itself would have been prey for the truly gigantic mosasaurs like Tylosaurus and large sharks like Cretoxyrhina, as evidenced by bite marks on plesiosaur bones. The extraordinary neck of Elasmosaurus stands as a testament to the diverse and often bizarre forms that evolved in Earth's prehistoric oceans. Its existence profoundly shaped marine ecosystems and continues to fascinate paleontologists and the public alike. Among the incredible diversity of marine life that inhabited the late Cretaceous seas, Archelon stands out as the largest known sea turtle to have ever lived. This colossal reptile roamed the waters of the western interior seaway, a vast shallow sea that bisected North America from approximately 74 to 66 million years ago, surviving until the very end of the Mesozoic era. Its immense size and unique adaptations made it a dominant, if gentle, giant of its time. The most striking feature of Archelon was its massive size. Adult individuals could reach lengths of over 4 meters from head to tail and possess a flipper span of up to 5 meters. Its estimated weight was more than 2,000 kilograms, making it considerably larger than any living sea turtle, including the modern leatherback sea turtle, which typically weighs around 500 to 700 kilograms. The name Archelon itself means ruling turtle, or first turtle, reflecting its immense stature and its relatively early position in the lineage of modern sea turtles. Unlike modern hard-shelled turtles, Archelon possessed a leathery shell. Its carapace was not composed of solid bony plates fused together, but rather a framework of widely spaced bony ribs covered by a thick, tough, leathery skin. This leathery shell would have been lighter and more flexible than a rigid bony shell, an adaptation likely for buoyancy and deep diving. While it offered less protection from crushing bites than a hard shell, its sheer size would have been its primary defense against most predators. The large, powerful flippers, particularly the foreflippers, were highly adapted for efficient propulsion through water, allowing Archelon to swim with great speed and maneuverability despite its bulk. The rear flippers were smaller and likely used more for steering. The skull of Archelon was large and robust, with a powerful hooked beak, similar in appearance to that of a modern sea turtle. However, Archelon's beak was much stronger and more pointed. Its jaws lacked teeth, relying instead on this formidable beak for feeding. The eyes were relatively large, suggesting good vision, an important sense for navigating the vast open waters of the seaway. The neck was relatively short, and the head could not be fully retracted into the shell, a common feature among sea turtles adapted for open ocean life. The diet of Archelon primarily consisted of soft-bodied invertebrates. Its powerful hooked beak was perfectly suited for consuming jellyfish. Jellyfish were abundant in the Cretaceous seas, and Archelon would have had ample food supply. While jellyfish are not particularly nutritious, Archelon's vast size meant it could consume enormous quantities to meet its energy demands. The presence of these large, soft-bodied prey would not leave extensive fossil evidence in stomach contents, making direct dietary confirmation challenging for many extinct animals. However, the specialized beak morphology strongly supports this dietary preference. In addition to jellyfish, Archelon likely fed on other soft-bodied marine invertebrates such as squid and cuttlefish, specifically ancient cephalopods like belemnites. While belemnites had a hard internal shell, rostrum, their main body was soft. The powerful beak of Archelon could easily crush the softer parts of these cephalopods, leaving the indigestible rostrums to be either regurgitated or pass through its digestive system. The large size of Archelon meant it was not limited to small prey. It could consume very large individual jellyfish or squid, allowing it to efficiently gather enough nutrients. The habitat of Archelon was the vast, relatively shallow waters of the western interior seaway. This epicontinental sea stretched from the Gulf of Mexico to the Arctic Ocean, providing an enormous, nutrient-rich environment for a diverse array of marine life. Archelon would have spent its entire life in these open waters, only venturing to sandy shores for nesting purposes, much like modern sea turtles. The fossil record of Archelon is primarily concentrated in the Niobrara Formation of Kansas and South Dakota, which represents the ancient sediments of this seaway. Despite its immense size, Archelon was not entirely invulnerable. Larger, more aggressive marine predators, particularly the colossal mosasaurs like Tylosaurus and Mosasaurus, and giant sharks like Cretoxyrhina, would have posed a threat, especially to younger or injured individuals. Evidence of such predation is rare but not unheard of. Its large size and streamlined body likely made it a fast and efficient swimmer, helping it to avoid most threats. The disappearance of Archelon aligns with the end Cretaceous extinction event, approximately 66 million years ago, which wiped out all non-avian dinosaurs, mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, and many other marine species. Archelon represents a remarkable example of specialized gigantism in marine turtles, showcasing the incredible adaptations that allowed these reptiles to thrive in the dynamic and often dangerous waters of the Mesozoic era. Its fossil remains provide crucial insights into the evolutionary history of turtles and the complex ecosystems of ancient seas. Among the formidable predators that patrolled the oceans of the late Cretaceous period, one shark stood out as a true terror of the deep, Cretoxyrhina mantelli. Often dubbed the Ginsu shark due to its razor-sharp slicing teeth. This ancient lamniform shark was a dominant apex predator, preying on the largest marine reptiles and fish of its time. It thrived from approximately 100 million to about 82 million years ago, a period when the Western Interior Seaway, a vast inland sea, bisected North America, and other shallow marine environments teemed with life. Cretoxyrhina belonged to the order Lamniformes, a group that includes modern-day fearsome sharks such as the great white shark, mako sharks, and the extinct megalodon. This classification suggests a lineage of fast, powerful, and highly efficient hunters. While its cartilaginous skeleton rarely fossilizes completely, its teeth are remarkably abundant in the fossil record. Thousands of these teeth have been discovered across North America, Europe, and Asia, providing paleontologists with crucial insights into its size, diet, and distribution. The size estimates for Cretoxyrhina vary, but it is generally believed to have reached lengths of up to 7 meters, or about 23 feet, with some estimates pushing it even larger. This made it comparable in size to a modern great white shark, though it likely possessed a more robust and powerful build. Its body shape was likely streamlined, optimized for speed and agility in open water, allowing it to pursue and ambush fast-moving prey. The primary evidence for its size comes from the dimensions of its teeth and the rare discovery of fossilized vertebral centra, the calcified rings that make up a shark's backbone. By comparing the size of these vertebrae to those of modern sharks, scientists can extrapolate its overall body length. The most distinctive feature of Cretoxyrhina was its dentition. Its teeth were large, triangular, and remarkably sharp, with smooth cutting edges, lacking the serrations found on the teeth of many other large predatory sharks, including the great white. This smooth edge is what earned it the nickname Ginsu shark, after the famous knives known for their slicing ability. These teeth were perfectly designed for slicing through flesh and cartilage, indicating a diet that included large, soft-bodied prey. The arrangement of its teeth in multiple rows, characteristic of sharks, ensured that new, sharp teeth were constantly replacing worn or broken ones throughout its life. A single Cretoxyrhina could have produced thousands of teeth over its lifespan, explaining their abundance in fossil deposits. Cretoxyrhina occupied the very top of the marine food web in its ecosystem. Its diet was incredibly varied and included some of the largest animals of the late Cretaceous oceans. Fossil evidence, particularly bite marks found on the bones of its prey, confirms its role as a formidable predator. It regularly hunted large bony fish, such as Xiphactinus, a predatory fish that could grow up to 6 meters in length. The sharp, shearing teeth of Cretoxyrhina would have been ideal for cutting through the thick flesh of such large fish. More impressively, Cretoxyrhina was a known predator of the dominant marine reptiles of the time, including mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. Mosasaurs were giant marine lizards that could reach lengths of 15 meters or more, while plesiosaurs, both the long-necked and short-necked varieties, also grew to considerable sizes. The discovery of Cretoxyrhina teeth embedded in the fossilized bones of mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, or clear bite marks consistent with its dentition, provides direct evidence of these predator-prey interactions. These were not merely scavenging events. The nature of the bite marks often suggests active predation, with the shark attacking and dismembering its large reptilian prey. This indicates that Cretoxyrhina was powerful enough to take on animals that were often larger and equally formidable, highlighting its status as a true apex predator. In addition to marine reptiles and large fish, Cretoxyrhina likely preyed on other sharks, including smaller species, and possibly even younger individuals of its own kind. Its widespread distribution across various shallow marine environments suggests it was an adaptable hunter, capable of thriving in different oceanic conditions. The Western Interior Seaway, with its abundant marine life, would have provided a rich hunting ground for Cretoxyrhina. The ecological niche of Cretoxyrhina was that of a fast, agile, and powerful pursuit predator. Its smooth-edged teeth, unlike the serrated teeth of other sharks designed for crushing or tearing, were specialized for making clean, deep cuts. This suggests a hunting strategy that involved rapid attacks, inflicting severe wounds, and possibly dismembering prey rather than a single crushing bite. This method would have been effective against large, muscular marine reptiles. The fossil record of Cretoxyrhina is primarily composed of its robust teeth, which are highly resistant to decay and easily preserved. While less common, fossilized vertebrae and even rare impressions of its cartilaginous skeleton have been found, providing additional anatomical details. These rare finds are critical for understanding the overall body plan and proportions of this ancient shark. The study of Cretoxyrhina provides a fascinating glimpse into the complex and often brutal predator-prey dynamics of the late Cretaceous oceans, demonstrating that sharks have been formidable top predators for tens of millions of years. Its reign as an apex hunter ended with the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event, which also wiped out the mosasaurs and plesiosaurs it preyed upon, fundamentally reshaping marine ecosystems. Prehistoric oceans were teeming with life, forming complex food webs that governed the flow of energy and nutrients, much like modern marine ecosystems. These intricate networks of predators and prey evolved over hundreds of millions of years, adapting to changing climates, geographies, and the rise and fall of dominant life forms. During the Mesozoic era, when marine reptiles reigned, these food webs reached a peak of complexity, featuring multiple trophic levels and specialized feeding strategies. At the very base of any ocean food web are the primary producers. In prehistoric oceans, as today, these were primarily phytoplankton, microscopic single-celled algae that float in the sunlit upper layers of the water. Through photosynthesis, phytoplankton converted sunlight into organic matter, forming the foundation of almost all marine life. Their abundance dictated the carrying capacity of the entire ecosystem. Different groups of phytoplankton, such as coccolithophores and diatoms, became increasingly important throughout the Mesozoic, especially in the Cretaceous, contributing significantly to ocean productivity. Grazing on these primary producers were the primary consumers, or herbivores. These included vast quantities of zooplankton, microscopic animals that drifted in the water column. Larger primary consumers included various filter-feeding invertebrates. In the early Mesozoic, groups like brachiopods, crinoids, sea lilies, and various bivalves, clams, oysters were common, filtering tiny particles from the water. As the Mesozoic progressed, new forms of filter feeders emerged. While direct evidence is scarce, some early marine turtles, such as Archelon, might have fed on soft-bodied invertebrates like jellyfish, which are also primary consumers or low-level predators. Moving up the food web, secondary consumers were the small predators that fed on primary consumers. This level included a vast array of small fish, which diversified significantly throughout the Mesozoic. Many species of cephalopods, such as ammonites and belemnites, were also key secondary consumers. Ammonites, with their coiled shells, and belemnites, with their squid-like bodies and internal shells, were abundant and highly diverse, feeding on small fish and crustaceans. Smaller sharks and various crustaceans like crabs and shrimp also occupied this level, preying on zooplankton and small invertebrates. Some of the smaller, earlier marine reptiles, such as Nothosaurs, might have also started as secondary consumers, feeding on fish and cephalopods in coastal waters. At the higher trophic levels were the tertiary consumers and apex predators, the top hunters of the prehistoric seas. These included the large marine reptiles and sharks that dominated the Mesozoic oceans. Ichthyosaurs, with their streamlined, dolphin-like bodies, were fast pursuit predators. Their diets varied, but many specialized in eating fish, piscivores, and belemnites, toothivores, as evidenced by stomach contents found in fossils. They would have hunted in the open ocean, relying on speed and sharp vision. Plesiosaurs represent a diverse group with two main body plans. The long-necked plesiosaurs, like Elasmosaurus, likely used their flexible necks to ambush schooling fish or cephalopods from a distance, darting their heads into a school without disturbing the main body of water. Their teeth were often slender and interlocking, ideal for snaring slippery prey. The short-necked pliosaurs, such as Liopleurodon and Kronosaurus, were the marine tyrannosaurs. These were massive, powerful predators with enormous heads and robust teeth, designed for ambushing and tearing apart large prey, including other marine reptiles, large fish, and even sharks. They were the ultimate ambush predators, relying on bursts of speed and immense bite force. Mosasaurs, which rose to dominance in the late Cretaceous, were incredibly versatile apex predators. These giant marine lizards, related to modern monitor lizards, possessed powerful jaws and sharp conical teeth. Their diets were remarkably broad, including fish, ammonites, belemnites, other marine reptiles, including smaller mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, and even sharks. Evidence from bite marks on fossilized bones of their prey clearly indicates their predatory prowess. Some mosasaur species had specialized teeth for crushing shells, suggesting a diet of hard-shelled invertebrates. Large sharks, like Cretoxyrhina and Squalicerax, also occupied the apex predator niche. Cretoxyrhina, with its slicing teeth, hunted large fish and marine reptiles, as discussed previously. Squalicerax, known as the crow shark, was a smaller but widespread shark that likely preyed on fish, and also acted as a significant scavenger, feeding on the carcasses of large marine animals, including dinosaurs that washed out to sea. This scavenging role was crucial for nutrient recycling in the ecosystem. Scavengers and decomposers played a vital role in breaking down dead organic matter and returning nutrients to the ecosystem. This included various bottom-dwelling invertebrates, as well as bacteria and fungi, which were essential for the recycling of biomass. The interconnectedness of these trophic levels created a delicate balance. A decline in phytoplankton, for example, would have a cascading effect up the food web, impacting zooplankton, then small fish, and ultimately the large marine predators. Conversely, the rise of a new, highly efficient predator could exert strong selective pressure on its prey, leading to an evolutionary arms race, where prey developed defenses, like speed or armor, and predators developed more effective hunting strategies. Environmental factors profoundly influenced these food webs. Changes in sea level, ocean currents, temperature, and oxygen levels could drastically alter the distribution and abundance of marine life. Periods of widespread ocean anoxia, where oxygen levels dropped dramatically, could lead to mass die-offs, fundamentally resetting the food web and opening up new ecological niches for surviving species to exploit during recovery phases. The study of prehistoric ocean food webs reveals a dynamic and ever-changing marine world, driven by the relentless cycle of life, death, and adaptation. Understanding how extinct marine reptiles perceive their underwater world is a challenging but fascinating aspect of paleontology. Since soft tissues like eyes, ears, and olfactory organs rarely fossilize, scientists must infer their sensory capabilities from the preserved skeletal structures, particularly the skull, and by drawing comparisons with modern aquatic animals. These inferences help reconstruct how marine reptiles hunted, navigated, and interacted within their vast ocean environments. Vision was undoubtedly a crucial sense for most marine reptiles. The size and structure of their eye sockets, and in some cases the presence of sclerotic rings, provide significant clues. Sclerotic rings are bony plates that encircled the pupil in the eyes of many extinct reptiles, as well as modern birds and some reptiles. These rings help to support the eyeball and maintain its shape, particularly under the immense pressure of deep water. Ichthyosaurs, known for their highly streamlined fish-like bodies, possessed remarkably large eyes, often with prominent sclerotic rings. The sheer size of their eyes, relative to their skulls, suggests excellent vision, particularly in low-light conditions. This adaptation would have been crucial for hunting in deeper, darker waters, where sunlight penetrates poorly, or for nocturnal hunting in shallower waters. Their large eyes would have maximized light gathering, allowing them to spot fast-moving prey like fish and cephalopods in dim environments. Some ichthyosaurs had the largest eyes relative to body size of any known vertebrate, indicating that vision was their primary sense for predation. Plesiosaurs, with their 4 large flippers and often long necks, generally had eyes that were smaller in proportion to their heads compared to ichthyosaurs. This might suggest they relied less on extreme low-light vision or employed different hunting strategies. Long-necked plesiosaurs, for instance, might have used their necks to stealthily approach schools of fish, keeping their large bodies at a distance and then quickly snapping up prey. Their vision would have been important for spotting prey at a moderate distance in well-lit or mesopelagic twilight zone waters. Mosasaurs, the dominant marine predators of the late Cretaceous, had relatively large laterally placed eyes. This positioning would have provided them with a wide field of view, crucial for spotting prey and potential threats in the open water. Their vision was likely well suited for hunting in the well-lit upper layers of the ocean. While not as specialised for low light as ichthyosaurs, their visual acuity would have been excellent for their predatory lifestyle. Hearing in water is fundamentally different from hearing in air. Sound travels faster and further in water. While the delicate structures of the inner ear rarely fossilise, the overall structure of the skull can provide hints. Marine reptiles, like all vertebrates, would have possessed an inner ear for balance and detecting sound vibrations. Mosasaurs offer a particularly interesting case for hearing. They had a unique articulation of the quadrate bone in their jaw, which is similar to that found in modern snakes and monitor lizards. In these living reptiles, the quadrate bone can transmit vibrations from the lower jaw directly to the inner ear. This suggests that mosasaurs might have been able to detect low-frequency vibrations in the water through their jaws and skulls, helping them locate prey or sense approaching predators. This adaptation would have been highly advantageous in the marine environment, where sound travels efficiently. For ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, direct evidence for specialised hearing adaptations is less clear. They likely relied on bone conduction, where vibrations in the water are transmitted through the skull bones to the inner ear. All marine vertebrates have some capacity for underwater hearing, and these reptiles would have been no exception, using sound to orient themselves and detect movements in their environment. Smell and chemoreception, the ability to taste chemicals in the water, were also important senses. Mosasaurs possessed a forked tongue, similar to that of modern snakes and monitor lizards. In these living reptiles, the forked tongue is flicked out to collect chemical particles from the air or water, which are then brought back to a specialised sensory organ in the roof of the mouth called the Jacobson's organ, or vomeronasal organ. This allows them to taste their surroundings and track prey by following scent trails. The presence of a forked tongue in mosasaurs strongly suggests they used this method for chemoreception underwater, which would have been invaluable for tracking prey, especially in murky conditions or at night when vision was limited. Ichthyosaurs had nostrils that were positioned on their snouts, but these were primarily for breathing air at the surface, not for underwater olfaction in the same way fish use their nostrils. Similarly, plesiosaurs had nostrils positioned high on their snouts. It is thought that these might have been used to sample water as they swam, perhaps directing water flow over sensory cells, though this is less certain than the mosasaur's forked tongue. While marine reptiles did not possess a true lateral line system like fish, which detects water movements and vibrations, they likely had other ways to sense pressure changes or vibrations in the water through their skin or specialised nerve endings. This tactile sense would have been important for close-range detection of prey or obstacles. In summary, marine reptiles employed a combination of senses to navigate and hunt in the prehistoric oceans. Ichthyosaurs likely relied heavily on their exceptional vision. Mosasaurs combined good vision with a sophisticated chemosensory system involving their forked tongue, and potentially enhanced hearing through bone conduction in their jaws. Plesiosaurs probably used a combination of vision and general underwater hearing. The specific adaptations of their sensory organs reflect their unique ecological niches and hunting strategies, painting a picture of a dynamic and perceptually rich underwater world. The return to the water by terrestrial reptiles during the Mesozoic era represents one of the most remarkable evolutionary transitions in Earth's history. Unlike fish, which evolved in water, these were land-dwelling animals that, over millions of years, adapted to an entirely aquatic existence. This shift required profound changes across their anatomy, physiology, and behaviour to enable efficient movement, breathing, feeding, and reproduction in a marine environment. The most successful groups, such as ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, and mosasaurs, showcase a stunning array of convergent evolution, where unrelated lineages developed similar solutions to the challenges of living in the sea. One of the most fundamental adaptations was the development of a streamlined body shape. Terrestrial reptiles, even agile ones, generally have bulky bodies and limbs designed for movement on land. In water, such a shape creates significant drag, hindering efficient swimming. Marine reptiles evolved fusiform or spindle-shaped bodies, tapering at both ends, which minimized water resistance. Ichthyosaurs, in particular, developed highly fish-like or dolphin-like bodies, with a short neck, compact torso, and a powerfully muscular tail. This convergence with fish and cetaceans is a testament to the effectiveness of this body plan for fast, efficient movement through water. Plesiosaurs, while not as torpedo-shaped, still had a relatively smooth body outline. Mosasaurs evolved long, serpentine bodies, but their overall shape was also designed to reduce drag as they propelled themselves through the water. Accompanying the streamlined body was the transformation of limbs into paddles or flippers. Terrestrial limbs, with their distinct digits and joints, are cumbersome in water. Marine reptiles modified their limbs into hydrofoils, essentially rigid paddles optimized for propulsion and steering. Ichthyosaurs underwent the most extreme modification, with their digits fusing and increasing in number, hyperdactyly, and length, hyperphalangy, to form broad, stiff paddles. These paddles were primarily used for steering and stability, while their powerful, crescent-shaped tail fluke, remarkably similar to that of modern sharks or tuna, provided the main propulsion. Plesiosaurs developed 4 large, equally sized, robust paddles. These were used in a unique underwater flight motion, much like sea turtles or penguins, rowing through the water for both propulsion and maneuverability. Mosasaurs, having evolved from terrestrial lizards, initially retained more lizard-like limbs, but quickly developed powerful webbed feet that evolved into broad, fin-like paddles, especially in their forelimbs, which they used for propulsion and steering, while their long, flattened tails provided additional thrust. Respiratory systems also had to adapt. Unlike fish, marine reptiles were air breathers and had to periodically surface to inhale. Their lungs were still vital for oxygen uptake. While they couldn't breathe underwater, some adaptations might have allowed for longer dive times. For instance, some ichthyosaurs had highly flexible rib cages, suggesting adaptations for deep diving and lung collapse to avoid the bends. The size of their lungs and their efficiency in extracting oxygen from air would have dictated their endurance underwater. Larger lung capacity and efficient gas exchange would allow for longer submergence periods, crucial for hunting and evading predators. The tail became a primary organ for propulsion in many marine reptile groups. As mentioned, ichthyosaurs evolved a powerful shark-like caudal, tail, fluke, which was vertical, cutting through the water like a fish's tail. Mosasaurs also developed robust flattened tails that provided powerful thrust. While plesiosaur tails were generally less developed for propulsion, their large paddles compensated. The tail's role in propulsion highlights a key difference from land locomotion, where limbs provide primary thrust. Skeletal modifications were extensive. The vertebral column, which provides support on land, became more flexible or rigid depending on the swimming style. In ichthyosaurs, the spine became highly flexible horizontally, allowing for powerful undulations of the body and tail. Plesiosaurs developed rigid torsos but often had extremely long, flexible necks, allowing them to rapidly strike at prey from a distance. Their bones often showed signs of pachyostosis, bone thickening, or osteosclerosis, increased bone density, which would have provided ballast, helping them sink and maintain neutral buoyancy underwater. This is a common adaptation in diving animals, countering the natural buoyancy of air-filled lungs. Skull and jaw adaptations were crucial for aquatic feeding. Marine reptiles developed elongated snouts, armed with numerous sharp, conical teeth, perfectly suited for grasping slippery fish and cephalopods. Ichthyosaurs had long, pointed jaws filled with many small, uniform teeth for catching fast-moving prey. Mosasaurs possessed highly flexible jaws, capable of wide gape and often equipped with backward curving teeth, preventing prey escape. Their palate often had additional rows of teeth, further aiding in prey capture. The arrangement and shape of teeth varied depending on the prey. Some had more robust, crushing teeth for shellfish, while others had blade-like teeth for larger prey. Sensory adaptations were also vital for navigating and hunting in an aquatic environment. Large eyes, often protected by a bony sclerotic ring, were common among ichthyosaurs, suggesting excellent underwater vision, particularly in low-light conditions at depth. Some species may have possessed lateral line systems similar to fish to detect vibrations in the water, although direct fossil evidence for this is scarce. Their sense of smell might have been adapted for chemoreception in water. Finally, reproduction in marine reptiles had to adapt to their aquatic lives. Unlike sea turtles, which still return to land to lay eggs, ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs and mosasaurs largely gave birth to live young in the water, viviparity. Fossil evidence of ichthyosaurs with embryos inside their bodies confirms this. This viviparity was a critical adaptation, allowing them to remain fully independent of land, completing their entire life cycle in the ocean and maximising their aquatic efficiency. This adaptation truly sealed their commitment to a marine existence, marking a complete evolutionary transition from land back to the deadliest waters of prehistoric Earth. The vast majority of prehistoric marine reptile fossils are found in shallow marine deposits, suggesting they primarily inhabited coastal areas, epicontinental seas, and the upper layers of the open ocean. However, scientific evidence, though often indirect, suggests that some of these formidable predators ventured into deeper waters, presenting unique challenges and requiring specialized adaptations for hunting and survival in less lit, higher pressure environments. Understanding these deep water forays helps complete our picture of the ecological niches occupied by these ancient ocean giants. The primary challenges of deep water environments include reduced light, lower temperatures, and increased pressure. Sunlight rapidly diminishes with depth, quickly transitioning from the photic zone, where photosynthesis occurs, to the aphotic zone, where perpetual darkness reigns. Temperatures also generally decrease with depth. The most significant physical challenge is the immense pressure, which increases by approximately 1 atmosphere for every 10 meters of depth. For a creature designed to live at the surface, descending into the deep sea could cause lung collapse, bone necrosis, from gas bubbles forming in tissues upon ascent, similar to the bends in divers, and crushing. Ichthyosaurs, particularly the larger later forms, are strong candidates for at least mesopelagic, 200 to 1,000 meters depth, or even bathypelagic, 1,000 to 4,000 meters depth, foraging. Evidence for this comes primarily from their exceptionally large eyes, often reinforced by a bony sclerotic ring. This ring, a series of overlapping bones within the eyeball, would have helped maintain the eye's shape against the crushing pressure of deep water. Large eyes are a common adaptation in modern deep-sea animals, maximizing light gathering in dim environments. The presence of hooklets from squid beaks in the stomach contents of some ichthyosaurs further supports deep diving, as many large squid species inhabit deeper waters. While ichthyosaurs were air breathers, their highly flexible rib cages and the potential for lung collapse upon diving would have allowed them to minimize the effects of pressure change, a strategy seen in modern deep-diving whales like sperm whales. Their streamlined, fast-swimming bodies would have also facilitated rapid ascent and descent, optimizing time spent at depth for hunting. Pliosaurs, the short-necked, large-headed plesiosaurs, were formidable ambush predators, and some may have also explored deeper waters. Their immense size and powerful flippers suggest they could have navigated significant depths. While their eyes weren't as proportionally large as those of ichthyosaurs, their robust build would have provided some resistance to pressure. The diet of some pliosaurs included large fish and other marine reptiles, which could have been found at various depths. However, their presumed hunting strategy, bursts of speed from ambush, might suggest they preferred environments with some structural complexity, like continental slopes or submarine canyons, rather than the vast, featureless abyssal plains. Mosasaurs, the dominant marine predators of the late Cretaceous, were highly adapted for speed and pursuit. While many were likely active hunters in the shallower, warmer waters of epicontinental seas, some evidence points to deeper diving capabilities for larger species like Tylosaurus. Their flexible bodies and powerful laterally compressed tails allowed for efficient locomotion through the water column. The presence of a scleral ring in their eyes, similar to ichthyosaurs, though less pronounced, could suggest some ability to withstand pressure. Stomach contents showing deep water fish or cephalopods would be definitive proof, but direct evidence of their deep diving habits is less robust than for ichthyosaurs. However, given their position as apex predators in highly productive late Cretaceous oceans, it is plausible they would exploit a full range of available prey, including those residing at greater depths. The limitations of the fossil record make direct proof of sustained deep water habitation challenging. Fossils are overwhelmingly found in sedimentary rocks formed in shallower marine environments, simply because those are the areas where deposition and preservation are most likely. Animals that die in the abyssal plain are less likely to be buried quickly and preserved due to decomposition and scavenging. Therefore, inferences about deep water hunting are often based on morphological adaptations, like eye structure, bone density, or body flexibility, and circumstantial evidence, like prey types. The adaptations for deep-water hunting would include physiological mechanisms to manage oxygen. While these reptiles were air breathers, some might have possessed higher concentrations of myoglobin in their muscles for oxygen storage, or efficient anaerobic respiration capabilities, allowing them to remain submerged for longer periods. Skeletal strength and flexibility to resist compression were also vital. Their ability to navigate in near-total darkness would have relied on highly developed senses beyond vision, perhaps including enhanced chemoreception, smell, taste in water, or the detection of vibrations, though direct fossil evidence for such sensory organs is elusive. In conclusion, while the prehistoric oceans were teeming with life from the surface down to significant depths, the most compelling evidence for true deep-water hunting among marine reptiles points towards specialized ichthyosaurs. Their large eyes and likely physiological adaptations made them well-suited to exploit the resources of the dim, high-pressure mid-water column. Other groups, like Pliosaurs and Mosasaurs, may have made shallower dives or pursued prey into submarine canyons, but the ichthyosaurs stand out as the primary contenders for regularly venturing into the challenging realm of the prehistoric deep sea. Earth's history is punctuated by periods of profound biological crisis, known as mass extinction events, where a significant portion of life on Earth vanishes in a geologically short period. Marine life, living in the vast and interconnected global ocean, has been particularly susceptible to these events. Throughout the Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras, several major marine extinctions reshaped ocean ecosystems, leading to the demise of dominant groups and paving the way for the rise of new ones, fundamentally altering the course of evolution. The Ordovician Silurian extinction event, occurring approximately 444 million years ago, was one of the earliest and most severe mass extinctions. It primarily affected marine invertebrates, wiping out about 85% of all marine species. The leading theory attributes this event to a rapid global cooling and glaciation. As a supercontinent, Gondwana, drifted over the South Pole, massive ice sheets formed, drawing vast amounts of water from the oceans and causing a dramatic drop in sea levels. This reduction in habitable shallow marine environments, combined with colder temperatures and ocean anoxia, lack of oxygen in deeper waters, proved catastrophic for many species adapted to warmer, stable conditions. Groups like brachiopods, trilobites, bryozoans, and graptolites suffered immense losses. The dominant marine predators of the time, the giant straight-shelled nautiloids, also saw significant decline, although their lineage survived. The recovery period saw the rise of new groups, including the first jawed fish, which would eventually become major predators. The late Devonian extinction event around 372 million years ago was a prolonged crisis that affected mostly marine life, particularly in tropical shallow waters. Estimates suggest up to 70% of marine species disappeared. This event was not a single sharp pulse, but a series of extinctions over several million years. Multiple causes are hypothesized, including global cooling and fluctuations in sea level, possibly driven by continental drift and volcanic activity. Widespread ocean anoxia, indicated by the proliferation of black shales, played a significant role. The thriving reef ecosystems of the Devonian were devastated, and many fish groups, including the heavily armoured placoderms like Dunkleosteus, suffered massive losses and eventually went extinct. Early shark lineages and bony fish survived, but their diversity was severely curtailed. This event fundamentally reshaped marine food webs, removing the armoured giants and creating new opportunities for ray-finned fish and sharks. The most catastrophic of all extinction events was the Permian Triassic extinction event, approximately 252 million years ago, often dubbed the Great Dying. It obliterated an estimated 96% of all marine species, making it the most severe biotic crisis in Earth's history. The primary cause is widely believed to be massive volcanic eruptions in the Siberian traps, which released enormous volumes of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and methane, into the atmosphere. This led to extreme global warming, severe ocean acidification as carbon dioxide dissolved into seawater, and widespread prolonged ocean anoxia. The combination of these stresses proved lethal. Groups that had dominated the Paleozoic oceans, such as trilobites, rugose, and tabulate corals, blastoids, and many species of brachiopods, were completely wiped out. The few marine groups that survived, like some mollusks, ammonoids, and a handful of fish lineages did so in greatly reduced numbers. The oceans of the early Triassic were largely empty, a desolate realm that would take millions of years to recover. Following the Permian Triassic extinction, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event, around 201 million years ago further impacted marine life, though less severely than the Permian event. It led to the disappearance of roughly 20% of marine families, including many large amphibians and non-dinosaur reptiles on land. In the oceans, groups like the last remaining large labyrinthodont amphibians, some types of ichthyosaurs, and many large marine invertebrates died out. The exact cause is debated, with theories including massive volcanic activity associated with the breakup of Pangaea, leading to climate change and ocean acidification, asteroid impact or sea level fluctuations. This event was significant because it cleared ecological space, allowing dinosaurs to become the dominant terrestrial animals and paving the way for the great diversification of marine reptiles like ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs in the Jurassic and Cretaceous. The final major marine extinction event of the Mesozoic was the Cretaceous-Paleogene (KPG) extinction event, approximately 66 million years ago. This event, famously responsible for the demise of the non-avian dinosaurs, also had a catastrophic impact on marine life, wiping out an estimated 75% of all species. The leading theory is the impact of a large asteroid, or comet, in what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico. The impact triggered global wildfires, tsunamis, and a prolonged impact winter due to dust and aerosols blocking sunlight, followed by a greenhouse effect. In the oceans, the sudden darkness caused a collapse of primary productivity, phytoplankton, which rippled up the food chain. The dominant marine predators of the late Cretaceous, including all mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, and all non-avian marine reptiles, went extinct. Many shark lineages also suffered significant losses, as did ammonites and belemnites, which had been abundant throughout the Mesozoic. The KPG extinction fundamentally reorganized marine ecosystems, ending the reign of the great reptiles and creating opportunities for the diversification of modern marine groups, including sharks, bony fish, and eventually marine mammals. Each of these marine extinction events served as a reset button, profoundly altering the biodiversity and ecological structure of the oceans. They demonstrate the fragility of even vast ecosystems to rapid and severe environmental change, whether driven by geological forces, extraterrestrial impacts, or a combination thereof. The periods following these extinctions were characterized by long recovery phases, during which surviving lineages diversified and new groups evolved to fill the vacated ecological niches, continually shaping the dynamic and ever-evolving tapestry of life in Earth's oceans.